Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 122. And I don't care, Doctor. I am going to get in a spaceship with a madman if it's the TARDIS. I'm Keith.
I'm Shaun.
I'm Glenn.
And I second that emotion.
How are you guys?
Apparently not excited.
Oh, wait, me. I didn't say Shaun was really excited. I said Keith was really excited.
I just attribute everything you say to everybody.
Oh.
And not talented, apparently, either.
I didn't get one of those.
No,
I'm
you're
just a friend.
No, you're not talented. Keith's very talented.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I was confused.
I don't know what I'm
But you're
talented
often
at,
excited.
I am often excited.
Does that mean I have
Usually
to
about
include the
nothing.
pre-show stuff now so that people know what the heck we're talking about? Or is this just going to go with
People are just going to listen and
unreferenced
think,
material?
Yeah, they'll just think we're
They
goofy.
just roll with it at this point
I think they do
anyways.
too.
We'll include it as an Easter egg somewhere down the line. Just little audio files will start popping up on the site. People go,
222. What was that from?
122B. What the heck?
Oh, that's what that sound was.
Gotta have a reference guide.
This just in, if you order...
I can't believe we didn't bring that up last week. That was my favorite part of Hyde, was when he hears the knocking and he goes, oh that's what that sound was. It's mortal terror. He's being chased and he's in the house and he can't get out. And he stops for a moment and goes, oh, that's what that sound was.
Which was also a very clever moment. Just, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
I liked it.
Yep.
How was your guys' weekends? Do anything fun?
I went to Kansas City yesterday for my niece's birthday party.
How was that?
It was fun. Had cake and ice cream and ate dinner. Brought some hamburgers. And
Ooh, it was a good day for that.
it was. Well, no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It was by
until
evening.
No, it wasn't.
About
even by evening.
7:30. It was okay.
Clouds kind of broke away by. No, what happened?
No, we went and took...
So
It was
I
like
got-
it was like
so,
6 o'clock
yeah.
by the
No,
sun.
it wasn't in Kansas City then.
Oh, it was
we
here
didn't-
by
we
It probably
didn't
took
talk
longer to
Saturday.
get
Because by the
there.
time Sarah got home, the sun was shining. I was like, "What the heck?" I was playing disc
I
golf.
got
in
up in the
clouds.
morning knowing that it was going to be in the 70s. And it was going to be sunny. It was going to be this beautiful weekend that the meteorologists were all teasing us with. And so I put my shorts on and got ready. And we went to Kansas City. And all day long I kept waiting for that sun to come out. And it never did. Until apparently 7:14.
I shot a short film that required sunny California.
How'd they go?
We shot indoors. Because there was no
Did you
sun.
make your own sun? Or
No, we
rewrote the script?
just, yeah. Really, we planned accordingly. This is Kansas. It's going to snow tomorrow, so, you know.
At least your writer was on the set. So.
Yeah, I had the benefit of being able to slap myself and go, why did you think of that? I understand what Dave goes through now. No giant robots. Now, for digital filmmaking, too, we got half of it done, which was kind of the plan. We purposely broke it up into 2 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, from your tweets and Facebook posts and everything yesterday, it sounded like it was a whole total wrap. So.
The hard part, I think, was, yeah.
Oh, good.
That part.
That part wrapped. But, yeah, we've still got another...
It's a music video?
No, the music
Actual-
video's done.
You did that last
Yeah, that was last week. Yes, because it's not enough to assign you an interview and a music video. Let's throw a short film on top of that for your final project.
They're teaching you about deadlines.
Well, my other classes are suffering because the deadlines are flying by me while I'm working on these other ones.
Douglas Adams.
Yes.
I like the
The sound
of a
deadline
as
is
it whooshes
past my ear.
Captain Jack. I like to wave at them as they pass me by. But, yeah, so we got half of it done. I have the trailer cut together, which I posted in a little secret Facebook group for people who would care, and they were all like, oh, my God, this looks amazing.
You mean I didn't get copied on that?
No, you didn't. I haven't decided if I want to release it wide yet, because it's one of those trailers that, like, if you were there, it kind of, it's that trailer that if you see the trailer and then you go see the movie and you go, man, all the good bits were in the trailer. Mm-hmm. So, which really means that all the stuff we have yet to film is going to suck. But
remind me to do something before we leave tonight. Just remind me to do something.
Remind you to do something before we leave tonight. Okay.
Just remind me to do something. Because my brain doesn't hold anything in, so you guys will have to be in my notes tonight. So.
Okay. But, yeah, so we got
a
that
little
done.
treat for the listeners, maybe.
A little treat. Ooh. Now I'm excited again. Or is it that? Is it the I can't. I don't want to
Keep going. Okay, wait. It's a movie.
No.
First word. The.
7 letters.
I don't know what you're saying.
I don't want to spoil it if it's actually what it is.
It probably isn't, but this is great. Just more charades.
Okay,
Come on,
more
Shaun.
charades.
First word. Sounds like. Sounds like puzzlement, bewilderness,
I don't know what it sounds
unsurety.
like. I don't think this word sounds like anything else.
Orange.
Banana.
Doesn't sound like anything
Well,
else.
that's true. Orange doesn't sound.
Rhyme with anything.
I tried to write that into a feedback song once and got stumped for an hour.
I saw on QI that there is a word that rhymes with orange, and I can't remember what it is. Wish I'd have committed that one.
Orange?
No. Yes. Just start throwing some words out. That's it. Orange.
Random letters in front of orange and see if that works.
L'Orange.
What else did you do this week?
That was pretty much it.
Just that movie.
Just that. Well, we started installing half a movie. Yeah, started installing the electrics in my basement, which I'm very excited about because I will no longer Sporange.
Is that
Sporange.
it? That is it. Sporange is it, and it means
I don't know. I just hold on.
you can't do that and not have the definition because now people are going, "What's sport?" Look it up.
Look at you.
That's what Google's for.
We like to believe in a little philosophy. See, if we give you the fish, we fed you for a day. But if we teach you to fish, it's the same principle.
A botanical term for a part of a fern or similar plant.
That is it. That is it. I
How
learned
you're
that
making that
I
up.
learned that on QI.
It's a very rare alternative form of sporangium.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Why?
An epiphany.
Why do I know that word?
Sporangium?
Sporangium, I know.
You probably looked it up for some sci-fi short story. 'Cause
Probably,
It sounds very
yeah.
sci-fi.
I don't know.
Well, you figured it out. The secret
Sporangium.
is it's sporange.
Sporange.
That's what I'm going to surprise with listeners with.
Oh, is that what?
Sporange.
That wouldn't surprise anybody. Well, no, I take it back. It surprised me, and I got excited again.
No, that's not. Anything else this weekend? You got the wiring.
The wire. The wiring is
what's
also
that
in
doing?
progress.
What's
Well,
that gonna do?
because my basement, as is right now, I'm running two.
Has one outlet.
Yeah, well, I'm running 2 outlets or 2 computers, my printer, my speakers, my TV, my Xbox, my occasional vacuum cleaner,
That's
a lamp,
safe.
off of 2 outlets.
And you
Cell
make sure
phone
they're all
chargers,
on when you
lamps.
run that.
Oh yeah, I
vacuum,
turn
right?
everything on at
Yeah.
the same time. So, and then I plug in the microwave and just wait to see if it's going
I
to.
often wonder why the lights at my house dim every once in a while. It's because Shaun has turned all of that on.
Clark W. Griswold, right here. But no, so we're actually the brothers have come over and they're installing all of the conduit and wiring and pipe and all that stuff that I have no idea what it does. So it'll be very nice when it's done, I am told.
Journey
You're
to
told.
the center of Shaun's basement.
I hold tools. I had to. I felt a little good because I had to explain to Pete how to hold a flashlight. Ron's up on the ladder, and Pete keeps hitting him in the face with the beam of the light. And I'm saying, "Stand here and shine that way." And he looked at me. I'm like, "Dude, if there's one thing I know, I hold tools. I mean, I know where to stand and hold the flashlight."
Keith, you did a little bit of.
I did a little bit of disc golf.
You did.
9 holes.
And every time you guys do the
I asked you in advance.
every time you do the disc golf thing, I get after you because nobody says anything to me. Keith actually asked me
I asked
Friday,
in
"Hey,
advance.
you want to spot a disc golf
I-
on Saturday?" Unfortunately, I had to bow out because of
I
prior
knew you'd get
commitments.
upset if you found out that I went disc
I
golfing without
appreciate it.
inviting me.
So so it was a mercy invite now is what he's
Well,
saying.
no,
It wasn't a, hey, I'm
I-
thinking of Glenn. I'd like to
I
spend some
was.
time Saturday afternoon
I
with
was
him.
thinking of-
Hey, would you like to... No, it's... Oh, Glenn will be pissed if I don't ask him.
We're going to hear about it if he doesn't know. I invited you, both of you guys, and
did.
both of you, and so I went by myself.
Oh,
Screw
now
you guys.
I feel even less important that you
Screw
invited
you guys.
Shaun
I go
to
by
it.
myself.
The last time I went, I lost a disc. I have no idea what happened to it. I don't remember throwing it and losing it. I don't remember it falling out of my bag. It
He
just.
doesn't remember throwing it.
I got to the end of the course, looked down, and went, "Hey, where's my red one?"
He got home and went, "Did I go disc golf? I have all my stuff." Darn stroke.
I got to stop firing up the microwave at the same time as the vacuum cleaner. It's causing weird things.
Anything else?
Rewatched Iron Man in preparation for next weekend.
Oh, yeah. Excited. I'm so excited.
Continuum's back.
What's that?
It's a sci-fi show.
Is that the one with the cop from the future?
Yeah. Season 2. Season 1's on Netflix. Go watch it. 10 episodes. It's really good.
Time travel.
It got better than as it went.
Yeah, it really did.
How many did I get into that with you? 2?
You watched like 1.
Oh, was that only one? Was it only?
And it wasn't,
Way to give it a chance, Shaun.
it wasn't even the pilot. You came in on the middle of one of the episodes. I
thought I
no, I
no,
didn't.
I
You showed me the pilot. Yeah. That's all you watched.
I thought I saw like 2 or 3.
I gave you a couple more, but I don't know if you watched them.
Yeah.
I gave you the rest of the season.
You know what we watched this weekend? I watched episodes 11 and 12 of Tron Uprising. So that's how far behind I am. So keep that in mind.
Well, that means you're almost done.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to savor them, but we booted it up and I was like, I don't remember what's happening.
I got news. Caitlin is so excited about Doctor Who. She went on and she's watching the episodes without me. She was off. What? She was off school Friday, and so she went to the sitter's house. Well, I had set up Netflix on her iPod so that she could watch it at home if we were, all watching TV or something and she wanted to go off and do something else. So I'd set Netflix up on her iPod, and we were on our way to Stephanie's. That's our sitter, and she goes, "Hey, can I watch Netflix at Stephanie's?" I said, "Well, if it's all right with Stephanie." She goes, No, I mean, can I get it there? And I said, "Well, yeah, because she has her babysitter's Wi-Fi, and she can get on. She's a little more in tune than Clara is." But
Obviously.
Where's the internet?
So she said, "Oh, good. Well, maybe I'll watch some Netflix." I'm all right. So I come home Friday night, and Holly goes, "Well, your daughter's about to catch up with me on Doctor Who." What are you talking about? She watched 4 episodes. Now, she watched 3 new ones because she liked Girl in the Fireplace so much she watched it again.
Ooh.
One of my favorite episodes, my favorite episode of season 2. She loved it. So she watched that. She watched the Cyberman 2-parter, and then she watched...
Well, that would have been next.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Idiot Lantern.
Idiot Lantern.
Which she had all kinds of questions about.
And then the streak was brought to a screeching
The first
halt.
question was, what is an idiot lantern? So I'd explain to her.
This little
British
box you're carrying around with you?
colloquialism.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So I'm stoked. She's
great.
excited about Doctor Who, and she's plowing through them. So
I feel like
it's
I'm
fun to
juggling
sit
so
down and
many
watch them
shows
with
right
her,
now.
but I'm also encouraged that she's excited enough that she's plowing through on her own. So anyway, and hopefully we'll get the audio done of her reviewing 9, although she'll be able to review 9 and 10 here
At this
pretty
point.
soon.
So I plan on watching Iron Man 2 sometime this week and Avengers next Saturday. Before we go to see Iron Man 3.
Mel and Jesse were doing that while I was doing homework. She says, I'm in a superhero mood because Iron Man 3 is coming out, so we're going to start. And I was like, okay.
I forget how good Iron Man is.
She's going backwards. They started with Avengers and then went and watched Captain America and then Thor and then...
So they don't have that much time.
Broke down and went ahead and did Iron Man 1 first. I was like, why? What? I'm confused. But then they also watched The Incredibles, and they're just anything superhero right now. They're just... It's like, okay.
So, at this point in the show, it's time for feedback.
That's my tangent. Okay, good.
Wow. It's a good thing we do tangents. Forced tangents.
It's still playing in iTunes. This may or may not work.
Do you have your lyrics up?
I do.
Make it work.
Just a London girl living in a lonely world. She took a magic box going anywhere.
Those voice lessons are paying off.
Just a Time Lord boy,
He's been practicing.
born and raised in Gallifrey. He stole a magic box to go everywhere.
He's only slightly flat this time.
He's got some practice with this song.
I have been. I've been singing this one all day. Rock band. I had to leave the guitar riffs in that because.
Shut up!
A salvage team out in space believes the TARDIS is just waste. Clara's lost inside the ship, which goes on and on and on and on. Monsters lurking up and down the corridor. They're shadows of a future might. Faithful people listening just to get their fix of Doctor Who tonight. I'm really flat there.
Get the head bob going.
If only I had the hair.
What hair?
Everybody sing at home. Don't stop your feedback. Send us your email. Listening people.
We don't know
Don't stop your feedback. Oh, send us your email. Don't stop your feedback. Send us your email.
Oh, we went a whole song. Wow.
Yeah, I edited it down.
Impressive.
And Sarah's applauding again.
Sorry I woke you.
Good stuff. All right.
Once I started going.
Okay,
I just
remind me
couldn't
of
stop.
2 things at the end of the show.
Okay.
Things.
2 things. All right. Well, our first bit of feedback comes from
Mark. Mark writes in, to address the disappearing cable.
There's a lot of these, by the way. I read through these.
It's obvious that the TARDIS had a firmware update during the episode and was able to go wireless. As far as I'm concerned, this was the best episode of the series so far. At the end, I was left thinking, now that's how you do an episode of Doctor Who. Matt Smith was amazing. I also think the character of Alec and Emma, memory is terrible, so I may have them totally wrong, would make for a good spin-off. Certainly better than John Barrowman's idea of Captain Jack River Song spin-off. That campness would hit the critical levels. The other thing that struck me during the episode was that the Doctor doesn't need Clara. I don't know if it's because Matt Smith can carry the show so well, or it is the way Clara's character is written. I just remember thinking he didn't need her. If the companion is the voice of the audience, then she wasn't needed here. The Doctor showing fear was a good reflection of how the audience should feel. Also, not knowing exactly what was going on was something the companion should be there for. Mark.
You know, Mark brought up an interesting point with that, and I haven't been able to put my finger on what it is in this new batch of episodes, and I think he nailed it. I think that thus far, the way Claire is being written, despite the fact that she's the biggest mystery in the universe and we don't know why she exists and how come she survives and blah, 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 she doesn't need to be there. No. She really, and I don't mean that against Jenna Louise Coleman, who's phenomenal. I don't mean that against
she doesn't
anything
need her in
that's
the
said.
sense of how he says that she's not the voice of the audience.
Yes. I mean,
she's not.
It's empty.
She's just kind of tagging along at this point, and I think part of that is the fact that, you know, and we kind of joked about the idea of Matt Smith doing a whole lonely season, just him, and maybe popping in on, you know, old friends or something.
Here's my theory:
but
she's not really there. The Doctor. I mean, he pretty much
just in his mind,
right? I mean, he pretty much just.
We've gone Fight Club.
Here's the thing: is he pushed off any sort of companionship at all after what happened to Amy and Rory, and then suddenly he picks up. I mean, he's very adamant about not picking up any more companions, and suddenly picks up Clara. And so
gives over the keys
it almost wonders. I almost wonder if there's a possibility that it could be revealed that she doesn't really exist. That she's entirely in his mind because it's safe to have a companion that's not real.
Yeah, it would explain why she hasn't died again.
Well, she died this week. We'll discuss that a little bit later. But
and I guess
I'm calling it a technical death. So
I don't know.
We'll see.
I have a question about the firmware update, though, Mark. From where? I'm pretty sure TARDIS technical support went way of the time war. I don't think there is any. But
next up, another Mark
Lee.
Mark Lee writes, Mark here.
That was the subject line.
That was the subject.
But you didn't do it with explanation.
Mark here. I was looking for a Sharpie.
That was good.
Stay out of my head. Hey guys, just a quick and brief message this week as I'm about to get out of the car and walk into college. Okay. But first, I thought I'd tell you, a friend of mine has a play coming up in June, and I've just found out that he failed to tell me earlier that the Steve Thompson is one of the writers for it. He wrote Curse of the Black Spot, this week's episode, and the last episode of Sherlock. So when I'm there, I'm going to try and get a hold of him and get a quick, hello, I'm Steve Thompson, and you're listening to Traveling the Vortex.
Yay! That'd be awesome.
Mark. Thought I'd let you know because I'm quite excited to meet him, as you should be.
Yes.
P.S. If you haven't watched Broadchurch with David Tennant, Arthur Darvill, David Bradley, Olivia Colman, etc., then you really need to. It's become quite the phenom over here across the pond, written by Doctor Who's Chris Chinball. All the best from Mark.
That's on my list of things to watch.
I've heard it's good.
I have too.
And it's over now, isn't it?
From a lot of Whovians who've been talking about it.
I thought
haven't
the
been
series
following.
wrapped.
I don't know. I haven't been following.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
I just know that it's been getting critical acclaim over there, and everybody loves it. And I plan to watch it when I can get a hold of it.
Hopefully they'll release it over here or put
Who's
it on
next,
Netflix.
Keith?
Up next, Dr. Phil sent in some audio.
Let's give it a listen.
Hey, Glenn, Shaun, and Keith. Hey, it's Dr. Phil again. I'm still not caught up on Hyde yet, but I'm going to wait till next week's Doctor Who to catch up on both at the same time. But you were kind of asking, well, I grew up in Houston in the 80s. I think I became enthralled with Doctor Who in 86. My first televised episode was Colin Baker's Attack of the Cybermen. And, I mean, sure, I was into the role-playing game culture, sci-fi culture, but, I was always a bit of an isolated outpost in the school for that sort of thing. So I just tended to keep quiet about it. But the incident in which I was picked on, I literally got into a fist fight in middle school because, like, oh, you're the kid who likes Doctor Who, pushed around, a few punches were thrown, kid tried to smash my head against the floor. It was good times. In the end, we all went to the principal's office. Remember, they have corporal punishment in Texas, and so I got off scot-free. He didn't end up so well. But in the end, I've kind of always been a bit quiet about certain things. So it was really weird when I was at Northwestern a couple weeks back, and I was finished some classes I was teaching, and I was walking out, and there were a bunch of prospective students, and I heard them talking about Doctor Who. And I stopped for a minute, kind of paused and thought, and remembering when I was on campus there from about 2000 to 2003, that no one I knew about Doctor Who. I mean, I had a couple of geek buddies I hung out with when I was there, but the only thing I was paying attention to at that time was Big Finish, and no one knew what Big Finish was, let alone Doctor Who in the circles I was operating in. So I'm grateful for certain things like Facebook, because you might look at my profile and go, wow, he's got a lot of Facebook friends. I have a convoluted system of pulleys for all my privacy settings, because I grew up in Houston, undergrad in San Francisco, and I live in Chicago. So I've got friends on extremes of the political divide. So I'm always kind of careful what I post and who sees what. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that my Doctor Who buddies, namely you guys, are able to see, I think, everything I post. So I have. So it's because I think because fandom's got such a wide variety of opinions. So that's kind of where I come from a lot. So it's weird for me to go to things like Chicago TARDIS. I think I went to Galley in the late '90s and I totally didn't fit it in Galley back then. But that's because up to then, my fandom was completely a very solitary sort of thing for Doctor Who anyway. I mean, I had a good close buddy of mine. We watched a lot of the PBS run. Played D&D, Warhammer, and you mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, played the role-playing game of that, Gamma World, Doctor Who, the role-playing game, and I have 2 copies of that. I got them as Christmas gifts from my sister-in-law and her family, so I've got the old FAFSA Doctor Who game and some of the expansions, which I didn't have back in the day. Not that I'm likely to probably have time to break into role-playing games again, but I think I have every Doctor Who role-playing game that's come out, partly just, as a completist. I mean, my office is kind of like a shrine to sci-fi and early music and music geekery, so there was a comment that came up from on Facebook that I thought was hilarious from a buddy of mine who's teaching music theory at the university level. And this one kid in his class goes, "Oh my God, that's so geeky." And the teacher looks at this kid and goes, "Well, you're at a music conservatory. I'm afraid that the geek boat has sailed and you're on it." So I'm like, yeah, that's probably about right. You know, you don't go into a field like mine unless you're really, really passionate about it. Just like, like I think from all of the comments about from Shaun about going into film studies, you don't try to make a living in that unless you really, really love it, because it's not an easy thing to make a living in. So I totally can relate to that. So anyway, sorry for my ramblings, but I think that there's where my youth fandom came from. And it's funny because I think I read Tom Baker in comic form before I actually got in the rotation on PBS to see all of his run. And I watched it straight through. It was all omnibus. And I would do crazy things in middle school, like, okay, now that I've got all of the Tom Baker episodes on video cassette, I'm going to try to watch them all. And I'd probably make it about as far as Brain of Morbius before I realized I've got to get some sleep. Boy, would that kind of free time be useful these days. But anyway, hope it's a little bit more insight into my head than you probably need. But anyway, you guys keep up the great work and the great commentary as always. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello, keepers and protectors of the Vortex. Hey, it's Dr. Phil, and I'm actually sending in feedback for this week's pertinent episodes. Finally caught up on Hyde and Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Hyde was all right. I think I'm a bit indifferent to it, but not negative. I really enjoyed Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, although I thought some of the graphics for the salvage ship were a little bit corny, but that's really not much to be said. I thought it was very convenient to have a properly labeled and history of the Time War book sitting in the TARDIS, which is ironic because the only people who write histories of things are historians, and those would be Time Lords or Daleks, and, well, the Time Lords are supposedly all dead. Why would he have... Right. Exactly. It seems a bit strange to have a history of the Time War, since even Jabe in End of the World barely knew who the Time Lords were anyway. That's, of course, going back to 2005. Most of my niggles with Journey to the Center of the TARDIS are very, very minor. I get that one is very much the same issue I have with the end of Episode 2 of Star Wars. Begun, the Clone War has. Historians come up with labels, usually decades later, but I will coin it now. Same sort of thing. I think they tried and succeeded, but we know that it's do or do not, there is no try. Sorry, I'm just a bit of a chipper mood today. I'm not my usual curmudgeon-y self, I'm sure. But I thought it was very well realized visually. I would have enjoyed less of the weird temporal anomaly burned people running around. But I thought that even though it was a, reset button, literally a reset button at the end of the episode, it was still enjoyable. And I'm very curious to see how this entire series plays out in the end. But for some reason, I think I want to watch the whole thing straight through with all the episodes, because it just doesn't feel like, some people love arcs, some people hate arcs. I love arcs, but it just feels slightly, Series 7 has seemed slightly incoherent. It's been a mixed bag, a lot of positives, so I'm not going to complain. But I'm really curious to see how the entire narrative threads play out when looking back on them after the whole season is complete. Season, you know what I mean. Anyway, keep up the great work. Looking forward to what everyone else has to say, and have a fabulous time traveling in the Vortex. Bye-bye.
All right, a little twofer there.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil, he managed to get caught up apparently last week and decided to send in the second audio. So
he makes an interesting point. Are geeks in general more tolerant because we've already opened our minds to these broad ideas, time travel and aliens and things of that nature, that bullying is kind of or not?
Depends.
I don't know.
I think it all is person by person.
Yeah. Of course, then again, on the other hand, he's a music guy, so... I'm teasing, Phil.
I am happy to know that we get to see everything on his Facebook page.
Yeah.
All of his posts. That makes me feel special.
Yes.
And on the role-playing thing...
I bet Phil would
Keith,
invite you to disc golf if he played.
Yeah, I think he would. Keith is working on getting us set up on playing the role-playing, and I think we should Skype in Dr. Phil.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. He can make some time. He said he didn't have much time lately.
Can we set up a... Its MMO is massively multiplayer online. Can we set up a not-so-massive multiplayer role-play?
And it's MMO?
Yeah, one of them. Copyright, Traveling the Vortex, 2013.
I don't know. Could we?
Probably.
Skype these guys in. Let's
Skype people in.
Let's do it. Let's run a... I don't know. Roll. I got a 20.
Well, yeah. The game master would have to roll for the people on Skype.
Yes, I would agree.
Because they
Well, that would be you.
They would be objective.
I don't know if you can point your webcam down so that we can see it.
How many people can we webcam and check? 'Cause I know we can
Well,
do
if
audio.
we get
a
enough
lot.
interest, we'll just pay for Skype.
All right.
All right. I better get reading more.
There's the gauntlet thrown down. If you would like to be part of a Traveling the Vortex Doctor Who role-playing group online...
Pay for our Skype. That's your entry fee.
I was going to say, Shaun's throwing the gauntlet down, so I was going to make him pay for it. But
I like that. I like that better.
Absolutely. And we're glad to hear from your chipper self this week, Phil.
Yes.
So.
Glad you're chipper.
Thanks for audioing in.
Calling in?
Yeah. I don't think he really called in. He recorded
I bet he
so.
recorded it on his phone. Sounded like he was in the car.
Yes, that's not necessarily a phone call.
It's true.
Wait, Dr. Phil's calling us from a car phone?
Next up is Megan.
From the past. Megan writes, feedback submitted. Okay, that's the subject line. So,
Okay.
Hello, hello again. I meant to make me sending in feedback a regular thing, but alas, midterms prevented me from being on the ball the past few weeks, so apologies. Well, that's okay. There are things
We
that are
understand.
more important than hearing from, or talking to us.
I'm with you.
And you're still here every week. I can't believe that. First of all...
Not always with my homework done.
First of all, loved the Planet Comic Con podcast. It was such a treat to hear your Daphne Ashbrook interview. Second, wow, it was wonderful to hear that you guys and the other feedbackers actually enjoyed the rings of Waka Waka like I did. We should be writing these down. We need a list. Okay, you're charged with making a list.
Oh, man. Okay.
I did. Okay. I swear, for a week, I thought I was going insane. It seemed like everyone besides me absolutely hated it. It was a nice reminder that sometimes the haters are the loudest, but oftentimes not the majority. Okay.
I don't know about that. It's just you're in good company. I
Yes,
guess.
certainly in good company.
Well, I was listening to Verity, and the majority of the ladies on Verity liked it.
Was that right?
Yeah,
right.
only like one was kind of negative about it. So.
Well, very good. Okay, quick review of the stories I missed. They were great. No, but really, this half of the series has been superb, and the constant callbacks to classic Who are enough to make me flail in delight and make anyone I'm watching with scared for their lives. Specifically, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Wow, just wow. Look up spectacular in the thesaurus and just plug in every word that comes up. As my overall review, I am utterly in love with this episode. It was smart and gorgeous, and the library. It was 45 minutes of me clutching my face and grinning like an idiot, except for when the zombies were around because they were proper creepy. I love that the Doctor was making an effort to get the TARDIS and Clara to get... I'm saying Clara now. Clara to get along. And frankly, every incarnation of the Doctor and Clara...
Interaction.
I'm sorry. Yeah, incarnation. Every interaction the Doctor and Clara had was brilliant, especially when she was punching him, laughed out loud at that. I did not see the timey-wimey explanation for the zombies coming and was thoroughly impressed. I loved the little peek of the swimming pool, that the Gallifreyan encyclopedias were bottled thoughts rather than books, and the reference to the Time Lords having horrible dress sense and terrible hats. Honestly, I could go on for days about everything I loved about this episode, so I'll leave it at that. Can't wait to hear what you all thought. Megan. P.S. I forgot to mention that as evidence of my Omega theory, the last time I wrote in, the Cleric Army in the Angel 2-parter in Series 5 and A Good Man Goes to War have make of what you want. What?
Their patch. I know what she's talking about.
Okay.
Their patch.
I forgot to mention this as evidence of Omega in theory in the last time I wrote. The Cleric Army in the Angel 2-parter in Series 5 and Good Man Go to War have make of what you want, or what you will.
Yeah, she forgot a word there. Or a couple words.
Explain it, because I've read
Okay,
the
the
second
same
time.
I'm pretty sure what she's saying is the army,
Yes.
the Cleric Army, have patches on their uniforms.
Yes.
It's the Omega logo. Or
Oh.
the Omega symbol.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what she's referring to. As part of her evidence of her Omega theory that she presented.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That Omega's coming back.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Oh, maybe well, she might be the prophet this season. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Megan.
Next up, Jessica. Comment question, sorry.
That was Keith's hands. If that was audible, that was Keith pressing his hands together.
Real quick.
I didn't even mean to do that.
I just heard it, and then I looked up and I saw what you're doing.
I understand Weird Al is looking for a new bandmate. You might,
Oh!
no,
apply.
I'm kidding. I'm making that up. Megan, since you liked the
Really?
No. Megan, since you liked the...
Wait, really? You were making that up? Or
Yes,
really,
really, I was making that up. No, he's not looking for a new bandmate. He's had the same band for 30 years.
Oh.
Did you see he was in the area recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have any money.
Oh, he was actually playing. He would just come hang out.
No, he wasn't hanging out. He was
He just
performing.
hangs out. He comes over to my house. We play Nintendo.
He does?
Yeah.
How come you don't invite me over?
You're busy. You had that birthday
You don't
thing.
like Rock Band. He says Nintendo, but he means Rock Band.
You suppose Al has a specific design for him accordion that has
Rock band
the blue and the yellow and the green and the red keys and
That would be awesome.
I totally want a Rock Band accordion now. I wonder if I could jury-rig my keytard to do that.
Keytard.
My keytar.
Oh,
You said tard.
Keytard, yeah.
I started to say
What's a
keytardus.
Oh,
I caught myself halfway through realizing that wasn't the word I was looking for. So if you enjoyed the Planet Comic-Con episode that we did with the panel, just FYI for everybody that they have released that video of the panel, and we do have a link to it on our website.
It's posted on our website.
It's posted on our website, but it links back to wherever it came from, but from PlanetCon. So
And apologies to why does his name escape me?
Josh Adams?
Josh Adams. I'm still working with that audio because it's crazy. So it came off Shaun's phone, which I'm very grateful it's there, but I want to make it as best I can so that it's audible. So parts of it are not audible, so they will just get clipped. But it's coming soon, I promise. I promise.
okay, now you can go ahead with Jessica's.
Hey guys, long time no write. Thought I'd drop a line, say hello, and offer a few reactions of my own. First, let me hand wave one of the issues you had with Hyde last week. The umbilical cord that was linked to the TARDIS, well, let's just call that a jump start. If we're going to accept relatively undefined empathic powers in a human, let's say most of the power to hold the portal open was in the crystal. And, like a car battery, just needed a little jump to get the connection going. Second, I'm glad to see my instincts about Clara from the Snowmen seem to be panning out. I didn't trust her, and the TARDIS doesn't seem to, and some parts of fandom seem to be catching on to how perfect she seems to be. I'm not jumping on any theory bandwagons just yet, but I am happy I caught at least that part early on. Now to jump to this week's episode. I had so much fun watching this. The pool, the observation deck, the spooky future forms, an exploding TARDIS. Great acting, gorgeous shots, and some camera direction I wouldn't have given, but overall exactly what we would hope to see with Sexy at her best. I could have skipped the android twist, but most of it was a great ride, lots of mystery, plot development, and then none of it mattered. Literally, I have one pet peeve sci-fi trope that sets me off, and that's it. I can hand wave 99% of anything sci-fi does. Time paradox, We just don't understand time travel yet. Standing in the Eye of Harmony room for way longer than the time limit the Doctor gave before they burnt up. Sexy's working on it too. Clara's flip-flop on the cliff between not trusting and completely trusting the Doctor. Did she really have a choice? But this goes beyond simple canon errors. Writers, please stop taking us on these epic trips, building tension between your characters, moving the story forward by leaps, and then erasing every emotion you made us feel. It's a cheap trick, and we've caught on. I think the saddest part is, this could have been fixed with only one line. Had the Doctor coming through the crack to tell the past Doctor to trust Clara with his reasons for bringing her on board, and wham, we all now watch and wait for the Doctor to tell her again. She proved that she could handle it on the cliff. We know it's going to come up again. Just give us something to keep the tension that the whole episode was built on going. This could have easily been my top 5 New Who episodes, and now it's way down on my list. Shame, because Matt and Jenna were so great, as always. Okay, I've taken up enough time. Rant over. As always, I really appreciate the format of your show, bringing us all into the conversation and giving us New Who fans some classic perspective on everything, especially in this anniversary year. I can't wait to hear about all the nods I missed. Thank you. Jessica.
Well, I'm ashamed. I don't know that there were any nods in this one that were missed, TARDIS-wise.
Well, you go TARDIS-wise now.
Yeah. There were some
audio.
Yeah, there were some nods, but
huge nods.
Really, I'm excited for you to point them out.
The Easter eggs.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'll come back to that. All right, got it.
Next up is David.
David writes, Journey to the Center of Multiple Corridors. Hey, Vortex guys. Doesn't Steve Thompson love long titles? I mean, last time it was The Curse of the Black Spot. This time, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. What's next? The Tale of the Incredible Doctor versus the evil, easily beaten Daleks from Skaro who are aliens? Trademarking that as we speak. After initially watching Journey, just to save time, I felt disappointed. Surely it wasn't that okayish, right? But sadly, unlike the rings of Shaka Khan, and the prize goes to... I started reading his email, and I hadn't watched the episode, so I only kind of got partway into it and then stopped because I didn't want to know what he thought. I hadn't read that before. Unlike the Rings of Shaka Khan, I still felt left down. Unlike the Rings of Shaka Khan, I still felt left down after watching it again. Don't get me wrong, the monsters, or echoes I suppose, were creepy and had a good twist to them. But they were lost in what, in my opinion, is a very deep, choppy sea of dread. I don't know whether or not the tall Van Balen brother was meant to be like that, the one who spoke slowly and seemed to put a full stop after every other word, or if the actor was just bad. And as for the main brother, I felt Thompson wrote him as too much of an utterly uncaring character. And who gives someone robot eyes in a voice box as a joke? Still, all the references to past times, such as the voices of such alumni as Susan, Joe, Nine, and Rassilon popping up, and the history of the Time War, which obviously will never be released, were nice. Oh, and seeing the Eye of Harmony was good. Shame it's just a giant CGI ball of flame now. I'm not trying to sound judgmental because I really want to like it. I just feel like I can only look at it and say, that happened. Still, next week looks promising. David. Thank you, David.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll address some of the issues, I think, coming up in our review.
Everyone seems to be torn about this episode. Split again. Up next is Holly.
Holly writes, Journey to the Center of TARDIS. Hey guys, love the last podcast. Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. I enjoyed the episode. The Doctor is still trying to get to the bottom of why the TARDIS still doesn't like Clara, and Clara calling her an appliance won't get her very far. Is it Van Balen or Van Balen?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm going with Balen, because I thought that's what they were saying. The Van Balen brothers were a rather interesting trio. We finally got to see the swimming pool and the library, with a book on the Time War. I wonder who wrote it. Along with with what looks like an observatory. I'm wondering if that telescope wasn't the same one from Tooth and Claw, and the Doctor just took it with him, or if it's a replica. The storage room was cool too. We get to see the Doctor's cradle again. So the Clara before the Big Friendly Button reboot actually knows the Doctor's name. I wonder if that will play a part in the last episode of this season, and that maybe not all of Clara's memories from this got erased. It could be a long-shot theory. Did not see the twist at the end with the brother who actually thought he was an android wasn't. I'll wrap this up here. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the episode and your Third Doctor retrospective. Holly from Wisconsin. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Holly.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not the same telescope from Tooth and Claw, because the Queen was fairly adamant that he leave and leave now. So
it looks very similar,
but it does look very similar.
I wondered the same thing. I didn't necessarily wonder that it was the exact one, but maybe that the Doctor liked it so much that he had the TARDIS create a replica.
Oh, he was very.
Maybe he has it there in case a werewolf gets on board the TARDIS.
I'd buy that for $1.
Lure it back there, and then you solve your problem.
I mean, he was very affectionate of it in the episode. I mean, it was just cool tech, so I'd buy that for $1.
Sure.
Up next, Chrissy. She writes, "Don't sweat the small stuff. Hi, Vortex boys. A few quick words about Hyde. I've got a perfectly good explanation of why the TARDIS could get into the pocket universe and Emma could create the portal for the Doctor to get back in the real universe. The TARDIS dropped the umbilical cord when it dematerialized, but Emma had already started the process of opening the portal. She'd already been able to keep it open before, and she'd still had the Metabilis crystal, so the Eye of Harmony probably was just the battery to jumpstart the whole thing, and the crystal and Emma's abilities kept it going. But however it worked, the fact is that it worked. I'm not too stressed about it. Try not to sweat the small stuff, okay?"
That's two people now that believe the TARDIS was simply used to jumpstart Emma's abilities to open that. And honestly, two's enough for me. I'm okay with it now. I'm just, majority rules.
I'll tell you, I'll say this now. I think Phil brings this up. Odd Duck Phil brings this up later to us, waiting until everybody had their chime in. But I appreciate everybody's retconning or fixing of that. I appreciate that.
But
well, ultimately, when it comes down to storytelling, if there's something that a writer leaves out of a story, or somebody that creates a story leaves out, that to me is a flaw. And so I will always have an issue with that. You can explain it away. I sometimes explain things away for things that bother me or bother other people quite often, and can write them off. But in the context of that story, there were two things that just really brought me out of the story, and to me that's a flaw in storytelling. That did not diminish my enjoyment of the episode. I loved the episode. I'll go on record all the time saying that was a wonderful episode, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But as a storyteller, you have a responsibility to tie up those loose ends, and if you don't, then that's to their detriment. So that's I appreciate everybody's explanation or coming up with a theory of why, and I think these are all great theories. Don't get me wrong, but unfortunately, that's always going to be a sticking point with me. But it's a little, what do we call it, niggle? So a little niggle, little niggle.
Chrissy continues with, "And whoever pointed out that Tom Baker pronounced it Gallifrey, 5 high fives and 10,000 and 1,000 points to you. Never thought of that."
I was just saying Gallifrey again. Gallifrey.
But that would be a great thing to point out to anyone having heartburn over 11 mispronouncing Metabilis. Journey to the center of the TARDIS. In the past, lots of people wanted to see more of the TARDIS than just the console room. Problem is, as many of these same people have pointed out, that you can't have an episode of Doctor Who that amounts to a guided tour of the TARDIS interiors. As cool as that would be for fans to see, you still have to have conflict and drama to make it a viable story and to give a reason for Team TARDIS to go exploring. See Edge of Destruction. And even when we finally get such an episode, there are going to be things that we don't get to see, or it wasn't the way you'd imagine it, or some other problem.
I'm sorry, I got to jump in here and poke the bear with a stick. Unless it's a 5 episode, in which case we're just going to hang out in Nissa's bedroom for 40 minutes. Okay, I'm done. I'm backing away, Chrissy. Don't hit me.
Personally, I love this story, purely not for fan reasons. The library, the swimming pool, the audio flashbacks talking about the TARDIS, and more stuff, and more on this stuff in a bit. But the whole time, I couldn't help but notice all the little nitpicky things that people are going to have a hard time with, and then use those things to dog on this story. And you know me, I have a great capacity for forgiveness when it comes to Doctor Who. If I was noticing things, and how much more did the more whiny section of fandom notice? I was entirely impressed with the salvage crew and that whole plot line, mostly because they weren't
What? They weren't what I was there for.
Oh, okay. They weren't what I was here for. But I understood the point of having them there because it gave the Doctor and Clara a reason to go deep into the TARDIS. Basically, the salvage crew is a throwaway plot device that only serves to get the story going. However, once the story gets going, I had a grin on my face a mile wide that I don't think I've been able to get rid of since. The mere sight of Clara wandering through the TARDIS and discovering all those little treasures was awesome. The book of the history of the Time War was a great touch. People have wondered who wrote it and why it was there, but I think the Doctor wrote it all down, trying to remind himself of how bad it was in hopes it would never be repeated.
Well, hold on, Chrissy. If you're going to do that, and you have such a guarded secret as your own name, why would you write that into the book?
It's true.
I guess you're presuming no one ever would see it? All right. Okay. Sorry.
You just
had to jump in yourself.
Why do people keep diaries?
They want to.
It's
ultimately there is
you pour all of your intimate and you put the little lock on it.
With
and
a
safe,
dolly,
you know?
I believe with a diary that ultimately.
Did I say diary or dolly?
You said diary.
I
You
said
said dolly.
Okay. Well, he said it, and I questioned myself.
Ultimately, with a dolly, I think you intend someone to see it someday or eventually or down the line or something.
Like your
Not mine.
ancestors. Or, well,
Well, you quit writing your stuff down because it's gonna be seen.
Okay, so for just for the record, there's a dream journal on my nightstand. When I'm gone, burn it.
Why else does anyone keep a history of anything? I loved all the little glimpses to the side corridors we got. But the one part that really made me happy was the scene where the salvage crew guy number 2, whatever his name wasn't important, tries to dismantle the console, and then we get all those little audio callbacks from the past. I couldn't pick out all the voices, but I definitely heard 3, 5, 9, plus Susan and Ian clear back from an unearthly child. I need to go back and see if I can figure out who else was in that little audio montage. But it was so much fun to hear all those echoes of the past. I love it when Doctor Who recognizes the past, even in these quick little moments.
Yeah. Chrissy heard all the same ones I did, because those are the ones I could pick out.
She heard a few I didn't.
I didn't hear 5. I couldn't tell.
I agree there are a few that I didn't even.
I heard Susan for sure. I heard Ian later.
9 for sure.
I heard 9 for sure. I heard 3 for sure.
I heard 5.
I didn't hear 5, but I'm sure he was there. I mean, kind of the same thing. It's not that I doubt any of these are in there. I just didn't, it was like, wow, there was way more there than I
He's saying that you're
heard.
hearing things. He's saying that your infatuation with 5 drove you to believe that you heard 5 in that audio. Hit him again.
I'm saying I am admitting fully that...
Hit him again.
Ow.
Also, the part where the Doctor and Clara are in the exploded engine room and the Doctor laments that the TARDIS has taken care of him all these years, but he can't help her when she needs it the most. That was very touching and wonderful. That was a very touching and wonderful scene. While all the fan service things were wonderful, the things I loved most about the stories were the scenes between Clara and the Doctor. When he tells her that he's seen her die twice before, and she demands to know what's going on, and he tells her to trust him just this once, and a few more times besides. This story was at its best when it was focused on the Doctor, Clara, or the TARDIS, or some combination of the 3. Honestly, it was probably the biggest missed opportunity. That was the biggest missed opportunity of this story, to make it a true bottle episode with all these characters. Yes, I'm including the TARDIS as a character, because those parts were absolutely wonderful. I can appreciate this story for what it was and enjoy the parts that made me happy. Of course, this season's story arc was moved forward regarding the mystery of Clara. Even if she doesn't remember the conversation, the Doctor has a few more pieces to the puzzle, and I'm certain those will come to play in the finale, as well as Clara asking about the Doctor's name. I got chills from that. All in all, a fitting tribute to the TARDIS, and a great episode that helped celebrate the 50th anniversary. I loved it. Bye for now, Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy. And more on that later.
Up next, Brenda.
Brenda writes, Dear Vortex Gang. Oh, her subject line is, The TARDIS is exploding! With a couple of exclamation points. Just a quick note. What?
Smiley face. No, there's not.
Just a quick note this week before the Doctor's Revisited special starts. Last week... Is that this week?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Tonight.
Oh, man. I didn't check in. Maybe I'll do that here in a minute. Last week, you mentioned the Doctor Who prom this summer. As a bit of background, prom is short for promenade, concerts that were once held outdoors in the parks of London. They have been going on since the late 1800s, but are now mostly held in the Royal Albert Hall. The BBC Proms Music Festival lasts a couple of months, starting in mid-July and going until mid-September each year. Wow. And there are concerts each day, sometimes multiple concerts in a day. The proms run the gamut from opera to symphonies to chamber music to kids' performances. I had been paying particular attention to the prom schedule this year because I was pretty sure they were going to have one for the 50th anniversary Who, and as I will be in London the first week of August, I was hoping it would take place then. Alas, it's happening the first weekend of the festival in July, so I'll miss it by a couple of weeks.
Aww.
Shucks. I'll just have to console myself by going to Cardiff for a day to see the Doctor Who experience, which I plan to do. More on that later as plans get more definite. Yay. Brenda, pics or it didn't happen.
Full report. Really.
Yeah, we want the whole shebang there. I look forward to your review of Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. I thought it was such a lark, though it did have to watch it a couple of times back-to-back to catch everything. I loved getting the glimpses of the swimming pool in the library, the engine room, the eye of whatever black hole thing. I can't remember the exact name, but I know it has its roots in Classic Who. And I especially loved the nostalgia room, where he kept his cot, i.e. crib, the toys and things that little Amelia Ponda made her a reminder of the Doctor, and the other things that I still have to go back and watch and stop action to catch them all. The everything room was amazing, and I did a fist pump for Shaun when he saw the engine explode in slow motion. Finally, we get some info on why the TARDIS exploded. And the Doctor was so sad when he thought he couldn't do anything to help her after all she'd done for him for 900 years. I also loved his crack about Time Lords. Rubbish sense of fashion, appalling hats, but very smart. I look forward to your words of wisdom and to those, our fellow listeners. Have a great week, Brenda in Atlanta.
I was curious how many people would there as far as the exploding TARDIS. Is everybody presuming that this is the event?
I don't.
Because there's an exploding TARDIS, it's stopping itself from exploding, and there's a
How long
crack.
has it been stopping itself from exploding, though?
Well, the TARDIS exists in all time. So this could be an event, and it also could have been part of the event in the Big Bang. So those two could be This might have been the explosion that caused the TARDIS to explode over multiple points in history.
I suppose it could
I don't
be.
know
I don't think so.
that
I think we
they
need
would
some
have
clarification.
Well, that's
or
just
some
it. I think they
justification.
would have either clarified that more and not hinted towards it, or they will address it later this season. So
now, I will say, I was going to talk about this, but since you brought it up, the crack that he goes through to toss the thing and get the message. Wow. I have to go back and double check, but it sure looked like the crack from Amy's wall just flipped vertically instead of
very
horizontally.
similar.
So,
I think it was. And
I think it was the same
well,
crack, which I think
why
is where they're hinting at it. But
that's why I'm wondering is how many people will associate this as being the TARDIS exploding, the same TARDIS that's exploding in Big Bang.
I don't know. I don't think it's it, but it may be related. But I don't think this is it. I don't think this was the catalyst for it. I still think it's Clara that somehow she's to blame.
She's there.
It's not.
I had a thought during the episode.
I wondered
that
if this
if
is
it was,
also what's splintering her throughout history.
That's what I wondered also. That one of these alternate versions of her that was on board the TARDIS got sent with the exploding TARDIS.
We didn't bring this up in news, but one of the interviews with Stephen Moffat just recently, he talked about how he's tying up all the ends. As I alluded to, I think what happened last week, he said this week that he is tying up all of the loose ends, that he's bringing all of everything that's out there together in the culmination of the season. So maybe that's it.
Jenna Louise Coleman has also hinted at other things for her character.
She's not just met the Claire's not just met the Doctor twice before.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't know that now.
Oh, sorry.
All
Spoilers.
Thank you very much, Brenda, and we sure hope you enjoy your trip in the summer. And yeah, agreed.
Details.
Picks or it didn't happen.
Last up is Odd Duck Phil.
Odd Duck Phil. Odd Duck Phil writes, "Hey, who peekins? Well, enough of the small talk. On to Hyde. I loved it. I think I watched it in just the right frame of mind, and I wonder if my opinion will change if I go back and watch it again. I remember being excited for the Scooby-Doo escapades as we discover that the ghost is really Old Man Jenkins, or in Doctor Who's case, some sort of alien. Possibly named Jenkins. But wait, it's really a time traveler trapped in a pocket dimension where her 3 minutes is taking millions of years to us. Neat. And then to turn it all around and make it a love story. That was inspired. I had an absolute blast from start to finish. Now, for some specific thoughts. Yes, I noticed that the TARDIS was hooked up to the empath when Clara flew it to save the Doctor. I also immediately dismissed it because I was having too much fun to get hung up on that sort of thing. Yes, Odd Duck Phil enjoyed the episode so much that he was fully able to ignore plot holes. Someone write that down for posterity. Number 2, I liked that the Doctor got scared. I know he was too curious to be truly scared, but in the heat of the moment, it was fun to see the Doctor actually get creeped out enough to run for it. It's fun to see the heroes act as most people would in certain situations. I agree. I agree with that entirely. I agree with that over everybody saying the Doctor shouldn't show fear. That's absolutely not right. And I've always said, when the Doctor's scared, that's when I'm scared. That's when I'm scared. So I love that they.
But the ghost didn't scare you.
The ghost did not scare me, but the Doctor being scared, no, that's just it. But the Doctor never believed it was a ghost.
Yeah, that's true.
The Doctor was scared of something else, and I was scared of something else. So,
fair enough.
All right. Number 3. Anyone else wonder if this trip was all about the ghost busting, or if the Doctor was using the adventure as a cover while he got a psychic reading of Clara? I think that's exactly what it was, and I think
they said as much in the episode.
The confrontation between him and Emma.
I believe that's right.
Was clarification enough for me that was the purpose of coming there.
The whole yeah. Because she even says to him, "That's not why you came here."
Right, exactly. Oh, he spelled it wrong. Journey to the center of the TARDIS.
Oh, that crazy Odd Duck Phil with his American
spelling. All right. Am I the only one that thought this episode was one long tease? There was a lot of meaty stuff that had me salivating, literally. When Clara saw the complete history of the Time War on the pedestal, I had to pause the show and get a napkin. The Doctor's name, the Time War, telling Clara about running into her before and watching her die, and then it never happened. I mean, yeah. There was some suggestion that these events may have sparked the explosion in Series 5, but as a whole, this was akin to a what-if comic. Somebody else read what-if comics. I love that. Sorry. Oh, well. The important thing is Strax is back next week. Woo! Prepping the automated laser monkey's scalpel mines and acid in anticipation for his glorious return. Odd Potato Dwarf. P.S. Ran into something on the 20th that had someone on the 20th that had hash marks on their arm, as if she was keeping a tally with a magic marker. Okay, I gotta ask: Are you keeping track of? Are you keeping track of the silence? You watch Doctor Who too, huh? It's always fun to run into other fans. I don't know, we didn't talk about this, but the 20th was the anniversary date of The Silence.
Yes.
Airing...
Impossible Astronaut.
Yeah. The previous year? No, it'd been 2 years ago.
It was 2010.
Season
2010. So the Who fans is kind of an unorganized event. A lot of Who fans went out with hash marks on their arms for that day. So there were a lot of people across the world the globe doing that. I didn't do it.
My lead actress did that.
Really?
She did it. I noticed that she had them on her arms. I went, oh, hey. And she goes, yeah, I'm looking forward to giving my presentation in class later like this. Just to see what happens.
I saw a lot of pictures online, a lot of people doing it, so I commend everyone that did. That sounds like a lot of fun. I did fish fingers and custard day, but I didn't do the
Did you do it this year?
Day. No. Well, I did it on the anniversary that it was organized. Everybody did it.
Oh, okay.
There's another one coming up now.
I have a feeling that
We're just going to
really
get an anniversary.
Yeah, they're just going to start doing it for everything. But
you know what I can't wait for? I can't wait for wrap yourself up in bandages like a mummy and walk around like a robot day. That's the anniversary I'm really looking forward to celebrating.
You know, in the summer we should start 3D Glasses Day in June or July 1st.
okay,
Did you just go and look that up?
I did.
let's do it.
All right.
That'll be the Traveling the Vortex.
Traveling the Vortex
sponsored event.
is July 1st.
June 1st.
July 1st.
July?
July
1st.
Did it air on July 1st? Really?
2006.
Well, I'll forget about it by then.
We'll remind you.
We'll
right
remind
now.
you.
Yeah. Keith, it's your idea. You write that down.
All right.
You're in charge of that.
I'll
Put that
remember.
with the Akaton list.
With the Akaton list.
Akaton. Shaka Khan.
Waka waka.
All right.
All right, so July 1st.
Can we talk about this episode yet?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah, I guess we can. Now let's talk about the third
Center
Doctor.
of the TARDIS.
Okay, this is kind of a twofer because it's going to get dun, dun, dun from the fanboy in me and kind of a dun, dun, dun from the other aspects of it.
From the critic side.
The critic side of me, yeah. I'm on the fence like everybody else. There's a lot of things that
There was a lot of awesome in this story. I think while it was cool to see it resolve itself so nicely with a nice little bow, I kind of wish it hadn't.
Yeah.
That easy resolution of also wiping the slates clean.
It's a cheat. I totally agree with everybody that it's like, really?
I've never really liked that in any science fiction story. To reboot, to wipe everything gone and start over. There was great character growth in this story. The fact that Clara at one point says, "I am more terrified of you than anything else in this TARDIS." Wow, and it's all gone.
I think the only redeeming thing about that, because I think I land at the same spot with you guys on, I don't like the just erase everything and pretend it didn't happen as a solution.
It almost feels like it's a thing where the writer didn't know how to work himself out of it.
See, I don't think that's true, but the only redeeming thing about that is when we see the Savage crew on the ship again, and the one guy makes the comment, "Hey, I am a decent guy."
That is true.
He clearly came away from that event having allegedly been erased and still had that one thing that hung with him. So I am anticipating that Clara will remember the name, because that'll be the one little nugget that she holds on to from this whole event as well.
I hope there's at least something. Because and the Doctor almost makes it seem like, there's going to be some continuation, because he makes says the line of, "Oh, we just crammed 2 days in one." Mm-hmm. And why did you say that?
It's still there. It wasn't like a complete erasure. It wasn't like a...
Well, it was, but it wasn't.
Well, it was in the same way that, I rebooted the Big Bang. It's Universe 2.0, but yet Roy remembers being a Roman. Well, it's that same kind of on-again, off-again.
Yeah, we just don't know how much they'll remember.
Which normally...
But we're told in the Doctor's narrative ahead of time that he will be the only one that remembers any of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
so we're told that. It was like Big Bang. We didn't. It was all. It was all new. We didn't expect it, and it's a surprise that Roy remembers. And Roy doesn't remember until even Amy and Rory don't remember until the wedding day, when it all kind of washes back over them when she starts to recall.
Right.
It. So,
and it's certain things like that I really enjoy. There was a fantastic concept that was brought up in a Quantum Leap book about how every time Al walks into because Sam's in the past, monkeying around with time. Every time Al's in the imaging chamber talking to Sam, he comes out into a slightly different version of his present, where because of whatever change Sam is currently making, it has caused just tiny little ripples in time, but it's affected things in his present. And so he kind of gets a briefing from the computer. Okay, where are we at, and what's going on, and who's with whom? And then he goes back into the imaging chamber and comes out, and it's changed again. And I really like the concept of that, of having to deal with these kind of things. So if we hit this reset button and everything goes whoosh, and it's changed, okay, that's cool. But I want to be able to have that there's something that has cushioned the travelers, that should be built into the TARDIS, that we are immune from those changes while we're inside, and so that we are still aware of it. Maybe the guys on the salvage ship wouldn't be, but Doctor and Clara should be aware that they had this time pass and this adventure and this stuff happened to them. So
the problem
if
is,
that's where it went, they certainly didn't make that clear, because I think despite the fact that we were given these clues, they didn't, it wasn't a 100% for certain reset that you're going to forget this. You won't remember this. It's okay for me to tell you this because you're not going to know. But then they do. It just, I don't know, that part was muddled.
It seems to me that ultimately this episode is to remind us that the Doctor's name is important, is going to come into play later. I mean, that really boils down to the center of what this is.
And wondering what the mystery of Clara is.
Yeah, exactly. And expounding
because
on
it's
that
been
a
kind
bit.
of
And Clara, because
the last few
that's
episodes.
really what it is it's just it's to put it out there, because I think we've been teased with it for several episodes. This was more of okay, we can put it out there for the audience, because we've only got a few more episodes left, so we can put it out there for the audience so that the audience is made aware of it. But our continuing players don't get to go away with the information that we get to go away with, and that's clearly what this episode is designed for: is to give us the information that we're going to need in a truncated season in order for things to make sense when Moffat gets to the end of this season. So that's all it is. I guess I don't have as much of a problem with the book being there. My first thought was,
I didn't either.
My first thought was, who wrote that? My second thought was, why is it not in Gallifreyan? Well, the Time Lords are gone.
Sarah mentioned that too.
I went all those places, but I unlike the umbilical cord of the TARDIS, I was able to just kind of go, okay, there's something. I mean, this clearly is a important plot point. And they're pointing this out. It has to be in English for me. And I thought, hey, the TARDIS doesn't translate Gallifreyan. I was one of those things that I keyed into as well.
I go from the opposite side, from the fact that just from a pure standpoint, that if it's written in Gallifreyan, the Time Lords wrote it, or a Gallifreyan wrote it, it's probably not the complete history of the Time War, because it would be one-sided. Well, it would be like an American history book talking about, yeah, we were awesome, and we went.
Don't you suppose American history books are?
That's what I mean.
I'm serious. If you went to another country,
exactly.
If you went to another country and read a history book, it would be. I mean, the results would be the same, but it would be slightly posed different.
I would like to think that if that particular book, since it is called The Complete History of the Time War, that it was written by somebody outside of those events, possibly the Shadow Proclamation or something that. Is by that. But I also believe that the book is no more than that. It's not an indicator of things, because I know there are going to be fan people out there just like, oh my God, the book, we're going to get that. No, we're not getting the Time War. You're not going to see it. This is a ha-ha look.
This is more
it's about the name. It's not about the Time War.
We haven't forgotten that the Time War happened.
Here's the point. Warner Brothers and Scholastic Books have nothing to do with this series, so we won't get a book released on the Time War. No J.K. Rowling.
David Yates is directing that one, right?
Yeah. There wasn't River's line about the crib that it's old high Gallifreyan? Mm-hmm. Well, what if this is... Would the TARDIS translate just regular Gallifreyan?
Maybe. I suppose that's a good point.
That's how I justified it to Sarah. I was like, well, that was old high. Maybe this is low.
It's gutter Gallifreyan.
It's low down Gallifreyan.
I was kind of surprised. Everybody took this. Now, where did you guys come down on the storage room, for lack of...
I just squeed most of the time. I was like, oh, look, the TARDIS that Mamie made.
But was it storage? Because I honestly thought it was like Amy and Rory's bedroom, because you walk in and there's the crib and there's her stuff, and I kind of thought, oh, where's the bunk bed?
Man, if it was, that's dismal, because it was dirty.
Well, that's what threw me.
But
it was rows of shelves.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I couldn't see the background too well, but yeah, okay.
To me.
It almost could have been converted into a storage room, because I mean, look, how long was he up on that cloud before?
Well, that's true.
I mean, he.
I think you guys are reading a lot more into it than what it intended to be. It was a storage room, and when Amy and Rory were left, their stuff was moved from their room into the storage area. What I
so
would have liked,
that's why it was mainly their stuff, is because it was up front.
Okay,
got it.
One of my wish
better.
lists in that room would have been to see items from Classic Who as well. And I would have loved to have even seen former companion things that were left on board.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen the half-crumbled star from Adric on a shelf. I would have liked... They could have been so easily placed in the background as just squee moments for fans, and I didn't see them. They weren't there. And again...
Who's magnifying glass?
It didn't... Was there a magnifying glass?
He sees the crib, he picks up the TARDIS, and then he picks up a magnifying glass.
I'm
and
sure
then
it's
moves
Sherlock
on.
Holmes. Did he carry one around in talons? Did he have one with him when he was
Oh, you know
playing
what?
Sherlock?
I think he did.
Well,
yeah.
I think
Maybe
he
not.
also did when he was playing Sherlock earlier in The Snowman. Didn't he
you're
have a
right,
magnifying
he did.
glass then?
I need to go back and rewatch. That's where this.
That was another missed opportunity. Now that you bring that up, if he's going to play Sherlock Holmes
Live.
with the... How come he wasn't wearing Tom Baker's outfit? That would have
I'm
been
trying to.
cool. Tom Baker probably still has that in his closet. They could just ring up Tom. Dude, can we borrow some of your wardrobe?
You're trying to what?
I'm trying to walk gently around this episode because I don't want to come across like I didn't like it.
It was very enjoyable.
I don't say, but I
every
can't even
week.
say that. I mean, that's. I don't want this to be a town called Mercy, where I sound like I've browbeat it, because I have a lot more issues with this episode than I do positives about this episode. But I can't say I didn't like it, but I don't think it was an enjoyable episode.
Again, I think it goes back to the fanboy moments were fantastic.
I went into it with expectations. Well, and that's the other problem is we're going to do an episode called Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. I expected more fanboy moments. There are not a lot.
There
are
aren't.
a handful of them. Not even a handful.
Yeah.
I could count on one hand
right.
how many fanboy moments there were.
See,
I'd like you to point them out because maybe I missed them.
Well, for me, it was. I mean, first of all, okay, yes, we got the audio stuff at the beginning.
That's on my list.
Which is and there was a lot of that. Like I said, so much that I couldn't take it all in. I have to go back and watch
and
it again and again.
so much of it overlapping that it's hard to tell.
We did get the crib and the stuff in the storage room. Just, I mean, it's a nod, but it's there, and it's okay. That's cool.
I'm not going to go with that as a fanboy moment because that is listen, but that's part of
that's
part of the recent continuity. That does not count.
Okay,
That does not count.
I'll allow you to throw that one out. Obviously, seeing the pool, that it hadn't been jettisoned, that it was just there, that to me was a fanboy moment.
I will give the pool thing because it's become the crib not so much because we've only re-seen it since another episode. The pool has been a running gag since the beginning of the Matt Smith era. The first thing I thought was, oh, there's the library. And then she went to the librage. Because the pool used to be a library. But then I thought, oh, wait a minute. The TARDIS is always reconfiguring, so this time she put the pool in another room.
When House took over, they had to jettison a lot of stuff. Yeah,
I always took that from the other perspective, that when he climbs out of the ship, and she says, it's a long. He says it's a hell of a long climb up from the library. She says, "Why are you all wet?" And he says, "I was in the pool." I thought you were in the library. I was. The pool's in the library. I thought it was because of the crash that the pool sloshed out of that and was in the other room. And I thought that was actually kind of clever because
they were sort of close together.
Because of the way they had configured those hallways, it was a straight shot down there. And I was like, yes, I'm right. But so for me, it was the library. Everybody talks about the library was gorgeous.
The library was gorgeous.
Everything in the library.
That's not a fanboy moment.
Everything in the library I thought was very fanboy.
There's nothing that calls back to any sort of classic Who moments.
The fact that I love the.
I appreciate the fact that he has a library.
Well, just not the way it's a library, but that it's a very, very. I didn't get a chance to freeze frame every frame, but I'm sure there's a copy of the Time Machine in there somewhere. That to me would be a
and if I saw it, I would add that to my list. I didn't see it. So
I loved the Gallifrey.
You haven't seen it yet either, so I'm not adding it to
bottles.
my list either.
With knowledge that one of them tips over, and that to me is really cool. Now
that's cool, and that's a neat ad, but that's not a fanboy moment.
Well, that's where I'm going with that. Is that to me is a missed fanboy moment because, to my knowledge,
you're arguing my point.
We've never seen Gallifreyan knowledge stored in liquid form before, so I don't understand why it was the Encyclopedia Gallifrey. It could have been the Encyclopedia something. It could have been, Galactica. That would have been cool if it was the Encyclopedia Galactica. That would have been a big fanboy moment, which is where I thought they were going at first. Okay, so then...
so we got two still.
We're still on two.
The other one on my list is the Eye of Harmony.
I mean, that was
the Eye of Harmony was a big one.
and I love the way
How
that was
could you-
imagined. I love the way that was visualized.
I had no problem
I
with
had
that
no
being
problem with
imagined.
that,
That was
because
really
we've come
cool.
in on this level of it instead of looked at it from down. Because my impression now is in the movie we were above it, and the Eye of Harmony. If you'd have looked down into that thing, you'd have saw the big glowing star collapsing.
So
And
they
that
were
would have been
they were on the maintenance
maintenance
bridge.
shaft within it. Yeah, I mean, because that's why
how
you
the Master survived.
that's why you access it.
and he's hanging onto that railing.
That's why you access it from the top. You open those doors, and you don't have to worry about all that residual radiation and burning up like they were going to do. But if you've got to go through there and do something down in there for a limited amount of time, you take the maintenance stairs.
Wow, okay.
I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah,
That's
really.
cool. I love the fact that the Eye of Harmony was in there and that it was called
a
the Eye of
collapsing-
Harmony.
and it was a collapsing
And it was a
star.
collapse. I mean, that was done right, in
Yeah.
my opinion, of all the things that could have been done. So that was cool.
It also
and-
doesn't
and-
screw up the link, that the fact that there's an Eye of Harmony on Gallifrey, because they refer to that in Deadly Assassin. It doesn't mess up that whole idea that, well, a lot of people ask, what's the Eye of Harmony doing on the TARDIS? That was the big thing
Right,
about
with Doctor Who
the movie. And so there were some people that kind of retconned it and said, well, maybe they kind of all link together. My idea about it is that because the TARDIS is all of time and space, every TARDIS has the Eye of Harmony in it. It's relative to time and dimensions and space is what it is. And so all of them use the same eye that can exist in all locations because all of the TARDISes, or TARDISes, TARDI, exist.
Sid Rats.
All of them exist in all of time and space. So they all can share the same Eye of Harmony as well as Gallifrey. So it didn't throw out
some
that.
sort of wormhole
It didn't
link
throw
that-
that
yeah.
out. I don't think it has to be wormholey. It just it's relative to time and space. So anyway, that's,
The other one that I took away from it, for me, that was a fanboy moment, was the tree with the live, whatever they were, the pods that hung down from it.
stunning, fantastic things, Shaun. These don't make
But
for fanboy moments.
that to me did make for a fanboy moment, because when he says when they dumbed it down, it was like, well, it's a machine that can make other machines. I was like, because I was trying to take that literally, and went, so anytime the Third Doctor needed to cobble something together to go fight a dinosaur, he could have just gone in there and said, I need a dinosaur fighting machine, and it would have done it. But then I realized, no, this is what allows the TARDIS to reconfigure everything.
Yeah.
And which is fanboy because of that.
It's essentially the brain of the TARDIS.
Well, it's that graphic where we've got all the little modules and balls that the TARDIS is made up of. That's how that works, and that it can rearrange rooms like that. So that to me was a huge mechanic fanboy moment. It's like seeing the Jeffries tube on Star Trek for the first time or something. That's what they're talking about.
I'll give you half a point.
So I thought that one was good.
3.5. Not enough.
You count all
Not
the
enough for what it
count
is.
all the audios in there as 20, because there were so
Not enough for what it is. I'll tell you, I didn't need to see more than what we saw of the TARDIS, but it would have been nice to see.
Oh, yeah, I would have liked to have seen more. Less corridors.
Walk by the wardrobe room. Walk by the.
Yeah, we haven't seen
I mean,
the
we
wardrobe
didn't
in a
get to see the
while.
wardrobe.
Yay, we get to see the pool. Yay, we get to see the library. Yay, we get to see the observation room. That's fantastic because it's parts of the TARDIS I hadn't seen before. I mean, I've seen the pool briefly. I saw Sontaran's
Trip over
lawn bridge. But or in fact, when she walked into the storage, quote unquote, storage room, I thought she was walking into that shop in Time.
Invasion. Yeah,
Invasion of Time, where they ultimately go where he puts the DMAC gun together. I thought that's the room she was in, and I kept looking for the DMAC gun. I go, it's somewhere around there. It's somewhere around there. This is where he left it. This is where he left it.
No.
So,
See, I think they're being really smart this season with the callbacks, and they're not overly gratuitous.
They're doing about an average of 2 at a time, and I love that. That's fantastic.
We're chalking this up to, this is great in the 50th that they're doing all these callbacks. They're not doing any more callbacks than they do in a normal season.
I think you're wrong. I think
They do a lot of callbacks.
I think
They're maybe making them more blatant.
I think they're making them more obvious for the 50th anniversary. Is I think
That
what
could
it boils
be,
down
but
to.
it's not overly
2 per episode is a lot
obvious.
more than we've ever gotten in the past.
maybe.
At least 2 per episode. Sometimes there's more. Sometimes there's.
I
There's only
think
one.
because they're doing less, they're making it it's better for posterity. That it's not, the entire season isn't all just about Fanboy because it's the 50th.
Well, but it hasn't been because
that's what I'm saying. That's why they shouldn't.
That's why this one should have because this is ultimately
no, that's what the 50th is for.
Well, but they won't. That's what I'm afraid of. But I
but it shouldn't,
agree.
It shouldn't lessen your value of this episode because this shouldn't have
this had at least
all that
the same amount as any other one did. But
and that's all
part
it
of me
should.
was so excited to be able to see more of the TARDIS, which we did. We saw a lot of corridors. We saw new rooms. That was fantastic. I love it. Actually, I had a lot of expectation for this episode 2 weeks ago. When I saw the next time on last week, I was able to bring my expectations down because I saw that and I was like, okay, we're not going to get what I'm expecting. So fortunately, I went into this one with a lowered expectation, and I think that's why I
think it was too high.
That's why I enjoyed.
Well,
this one.
I liked that the bits that we saw were still linked together because in Invasion of Time, we're taken out on locations to abandoned warehouses and expected to believe that this is inside the TARDIS. And while that's okay, it's still nice to have some semblance of this is still a spaceship. But yet there were still rooms. I guess it was the storeroom had a stone, door on the other side
That's
of it.
what made me think that we're going into that shop.
Yeah. But
and maybe they put that stone door on the other side of it for that callback.
So it wasn't Galaxy Quest where we have a scene where we have to go through the choppers for no reason, right. But I mean there was stuff still there.
See, and I think they were smart not to show
where
more.
we have to go through the
through the fans. Why is that one switch on the whole side of that room?
And I think they were smart not to show as much of the TARDIS as they did and not more. Because then...
Well, the TARDIS should still remain somewhat of a mystery.
Yeah, you would see more of the TARDIS and you would be disappointed. It wouldn't be what you imagine. It wouldn't live up to your expectations.
I didn't expect
most
to see
fanboys, that's how it would be.
I was still hoping.
I just wanted one or two more rooms to walk by and go, oh, hey,
I was still hoping for a scene where we wandered onto Ten's
but we've
console
done that,
room.
We've done that before.
I know that we've done it before, but Claire hasn't done it. And if we're going exploring in the TARDIS, especially now that
really,
we've got...
if they were going to wander on some console room, it should be not 10, maybe...
Yeah, why couldn't...
It should have been
4.
It should have been Force backup room.
That would have been cool.
Force backup room.
We should have walked by that door and saw... No, I think that the ultimate fanboy nod would have been the old... The backup console room. The paneling one.
Yeah.
Because you get the impression that the main one has just been reconfigured.
Yeah.
And that's the white one. Now, they do mention that the TARDIS makes copies.
Yeah,
and
has backups.
But I would have loved to have her just walked by a room, not even focused on it, just like walked by it, and briefly we see that console back there in that room, and that's it.
And the stained glass window.
A lot of people would have gone, I wonder what that room was, and us fanboys would have went, oh, would have been just enough to placate me.
But and before anybody says this, yes, I know that they jettisoned Ten's console room, supposedly.
But the copy's still on there.
But that's just, that was the House episode, actually. They talked about that. And
but that's where we learned so much about the TARDIS.
We've also had the line, I had to jettison the pool. But there it was. So in my mind, the TARDIS is able to reconfigure these things and bring them back to
experience. Obviously it does, because there was that room with bulbs.
So why can't we spend a day, go down to the experience, and film on the set? It's there. Hell.
Yeah.
Go back and... Well, you probably couldn't, but 11's old console room would have been kind of cool.
That would have been
It's
cool.
still recent history, but it's instead of walking back onto the same... Now, again, for purposes of the plot construction, it had to be, but walking back into the same thing, it was just kind of like, oh, we're back in the console room again. Damn, because you were having such a good time with it. Now, like I said, I loved all of those little aspects of it because I'm a tech junkie. I love stuff like that when they give us these parts of the ship. Here's the problem, and pretty much all of our listeners hammered it on the head. The salvage crew, which I thought originally was kind of a cool concept, that's how we're going to get into this adventure. It's like, oh, okay, neat. Unfortunately, that's all they were.
Unneeded antagonists.
They were completely unneeded antagonists to jumpstart the story. And really, you could have done this story for anything. They could have hit a cosmic string. They could have the TARDIS could have just said, I'm going to teach you a lesson and lock the door. They could have had anything happen.
There were two things. There was a reason to get the events to happen. There was one other reason for having an underlying subplot, and that's to drive home the idea that sometimes secrets are important.
Well,
They were
yeah.
keeping the secret of their younger brother.
That's-
No,
and it gave them more
that's what it
monsters
is.
to have.
That's what it's there
It did,
for.
but
That's what it's there for.
Tentative at best.
Well, it is tentative. You're right, but that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
It's there to drive home that point, or to have at least another excuse to show us that there are reasons to have secrets.
Now, I know everybody's up in
Sometimes
arms
secrets
about
protect her.
who gives their brother android eyes and fakes him out. I'm sorry, I have a younger brother. I've done probably worse things.
That's the thing.
It wasn't a joke.
It wasn't a joke.
That's what's revealed later.
He lost his eyes. He lost his voice box. They had to do it, and
Well,
so
and he
they
had
decided,
lost his memory, and I
Yeah.
think if
Yeah.
he had realized who he was and what had happened to him, it probably would have driven him insane.
Yeah.
So they were the
They were
secret
being-
was protecting him
Yeah.
from what really had happened and who he really was. It was ultimately a quasi dark right thing to do.
Well, and I think
that's the right thing to do when it's brothers.
Well, that's just it, though. The problem with that is the brother never comes up and solidifies why they did it. The doctor calls him out for being a horrible person on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where we're left with that really, really bad taste in our mouths. If he had said,
Well,
because he doesn't tell
no,
it to,
no,
he doesn't say it to the,
He doesn't, but with
he doesn't say
they-
it to the android brother. He says it to the doctor.
Right.
His eyes were done. This blah blah blah.
Right,
He
right.
never apologized. He never explained it to him that, dude, this is why
But
we did this.
But we still have to keep that secret from him, because I think that if he ultimately had realized what, I mean, that's why he goes the way of the joke, because that's almost even though that's a horrible joke, and why would anybody do that? It's still better than the alternative of what really happened.
Yeah, but
and
once
so
the-
you can't share that with that guy.
I don't know. Once the
because-
cat's out of the bag, I think you just got to go ahead and full disclosure.
No, I think that's
I
what.
thought they did by the end.
Not to the well.
Well, the brother knows he is a brother. He's not an android. Why he had to get the eyes. I mean, he was right there when he told the doctor.
right, but that's just it.
He was listening. He has ears.
It would be like if we did something horrible to you, and then I told Glenn why I did it to you.
Well, yeah,
never told you why. Even though
Well,
you're
I
here
see
at the
what you're
table,
saying there,
Yeah,
that's the problem.
He
with
should have
that.
apologized. Yes.
Yeah,
But the youngest brother still knew.
yeah.
We're
all
still
of this.
keeping the antagonist theory, though. There, I mean, we're still keeping the style of the antagonist.
Well, that's
There's
the
no
other part of it is
redemption.
that's just it. Is none of these with the exception of the android, none of these characters are likable either. I mean, when the guy's hammering apart the console, I looked at Mel and said, "I hope something really horrible happens to this guy," and then he fell down a ladder and got eaten, and I'm like, "Yay!" It was almost not enough of a horrible for this guy to fall down the ladder and get eaten. It
Why-
really wasn't.
Why is the burned up Clara trying to attack Clara?
Yeah, they didn't really make any of
Other
that
than
clear.
the creep factor, and you had to have that.
Why any of them were attacking the other ones?
Yeah, it just.
But there was that moment where they were both kind of just staring at each other for quite a while. Yeah. It wasn't instantly attack.
I felt I was missing something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if she was attacked and eaten, then she wouldn't get burned up. Maybe they were trying to. I don't know. That's the other problem I
Trying
have
to
with
stop
it. Is
you. I was okay with the time with the fact that they were future versions of themselves.
Yeah,
I got
that was
the lava
clever.
zombies were clever. I
Yeah.
liked that there was something. They gave a reason for there to be some, tense moments and anticipation of what this is. What is this?
Did you guys think
the
they looked like-
explanation is even good? It's just the whole once you start
Yeah.
putting the explanation with the events that
Once you
happened
think about it,
before,
it starts
it's
to
like,
fall
well,
apart.
That's not
Yeah.
working now. So
Do you guys think their design kind of looked like the angels from the two-parter in season 5? Before they reconstitute themselves?
not in the very least.
You didn't think so?
I didn't think so. Mel thought they looked like she
looked-
said lava women,
They
and I
look
was trying
like
to
people
think what
from
that was
Silent
from.
Hill
but-
also, but not as creepy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just not as creepy. No, but like, when they're down there and investigating, and before they realize that all these statues.
I don't know what you're talking about. No,
you don't,
not
you
in
don't
the
think that at
least.
all?
The angel
you
statues
remember what
just
they
look
look like in
Yeah,
that?
they
They
just
just
look
look
like-
like worn, broken statues. I mean,
Yeah,
they look
that's
like
what this looks like, but
ancient statuary with broken faces, and look like the Sphinx. The nose was broken off. I mean, it was. I don't know. I didn't get a lava impression at all from.
Well, not so much lava.
Because that's what Mel called them. She said, "Oh, they look like the lava women," and I had to ask her because I
lava
haven't.
women?
That's why she's referencing something else. And Billy said, "Oh yeah, they do. I don't know if it's a video game that they've played. Or
They
maybe
look like lava to me.
maybe it's from
but
Borderlands or
they
something,
aren't.
but-
They're
not from
just
what I played.
basically burnt
Yeah,
to
I don't know
crisp.
what she was referencing, but she and Billy both were like, "Oh yeah, they look like the lava women." Okay, I haven't asked him what that's from yet, but yeah, this a cool idea. These are phantoms, and I almost wondered if they weren't like maybe they were going to go really dark with it. Like these are all the people who have died, on these adventures, and that you are actually in an element of danger here. I'm kind of glad that they didn't go with that, but I was really intrigued with how far you're going to push this idea.
Head and go, what is the Doctor keeping on this ship?
Did you guys wonder? Oh, it's one of those creatures that wandered onto the TARDIS and got lost.
Yeah. I was hoping that was going to be some explanation.
There was a part of me that, honest to goodness, thought maybe these were flavorshires.
Oh,
the bats that ate keeps up, and I thought maybe they mutated or something in the crash with the fuel spill and everything, and now they didn't go there. And then there was another part of me when we just saw a shadow of it before it had a real organic look to it. When it was just a shadow, I went, "Cyberman Bob's alive! He's still wandering the corridors of the ship."
When they pulled the salvage crew pulled the ship in, why is the Doctor on the outside?
I didn't get that either
because it's the TARDIS is lying in this pile of debris.
With the witch's shoes are sticking
legs underneath it. And so it's like, did this all spill out of the back door? Was it like...
I got the impression the junk that it was in was salvage that they'd already collected.
That was already there.
Just was pulled into
that's how I took it as well. But then when I saw the Doctor underneath that, I was like... Okay.
I just got the impression he was behind that, because he got out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it clearly wasn't buried, but...
I also...
Intruder whisper.
This is one of those itty-bitty technical nitpick things. We go inside, and the guy says, wait a minute, why this? And the Doctor says, oh, well, she's got her own gravity source, and everything's right side up, blah, blah, blah. Which completely flies in the face of what Stephen Moffat wrote in the 11th hour when the TARDIS landed sideways, and he had to climb out. It contradicts everything that happened in the second Doctor's era when they landed on the snow hill, and they had to climb out. If only he'd have said one line, that's all I needed. Thankfully, it didn't turn off this time.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You fixed that.
That would have been.
Yeah.
But now you've contradicted all of these other times when the TARDIS has landed cockamamie.
Agreed.
And it's like, missed it by that much.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I just that was one of those. And again, I can't
Getting
go back
out of
to
the
Phil.
ship. How would you? You would go back to the other gravity once you got out of it. So you'd still have to try to climb out, wouldn't you?
Well, that's what they've established in the...
Yeah, because there was another episode where they crawled in. It was sideways. They crawled in, and when they got in, it was right side up. And when they got out, they had to crawl out. What am I remembering that from?
I don't remember.
But
you remember that?
He wouldn't have had to climb up from the library with a grappling hook to get out.
That's true.
And
but
he would have stepped on Jamie's fingers trying to get boosted out that door. They would have walked out the door and went because of the flip flop if you weren't prepared for it. But I think I remember what you're talking about. That there was something where they crossed over and went wonky, but I don't know. It just bothered me. It was one of those little things.
Yeah, I agree. With the throwaway line would fix that.
One throwaway line, and that's the problem with so many of these. Because I mean, I can. Billy was catching up. He watched Bells of St. John and Rings of Akaton today. He still hasn't seen Cold War, but he was catching up, and so I rewatched part of Akaton with him. And again, I was struck by the whole. Why isn't the TARDIS translating for that dog woman? Clara is sitting there barking at this woman instead of hearing English. That's bothering me. And then I wrote it off. The TARDIS doesn't like Clara. Maybe it doesn't translate all the time.
You said that last time.
Yeah. I re-realized that today.
Okay. I was just saying you already told us that.
But
like Clara.
So there are times when
I wasn't getting the clues back then that TARDIS didn't like Clara.
There are times when
I
kind of fall in with Odd Duck Phil, where my fandom allows me to just be obliteratedly stupefied by everything that's going on. I don't care how ridiculous it is, and just wash over. It's like Flash Gordon. Just take it in and just experience it and go, yes, this is the greatest thing ever made. And there are other times where I can't quite get over the hump of really being that excited. And this, I think, it went so far to putting me into that fanboy moment, but then didn't quite get over that hump, and so I'm able to nitpick a little more than maybe I normally do with it. Is I think, kind of the problem. It's not that I didn't enjoy the episode. I did, but it inherently had issues, and it all came down to scripting, because we didn't need the salvage crew at all. If we did need the salvage crew, couldn't one of them have been likable and important as opposed to just the butt of the joke? Mm-hmm. If we're going to wander around the TARDIS, this is a production thing, but couldn't a couple more of them hallways had roundels on them? I mean, Amy and Rory had roundels in their hallway, and they were still that weird octagonal shape, which, okay, that's not anything what Fives look like, but okay, I'll go with that. But couldn't we put a few more in there to make them, consistent match? Since you went this far with it, but not necessarily the rest of the way. But just, and then the end. Just, it's a reset button. Just
literally,
we're going to reset
and they don't even really explain how and why it resets.
Well, and he said because
he stops the gravitational.
Is that all it is?
Because it's a remote.
That's
control.
the remote for the electric grab.
So he just turns it off.
He turns it off,
and then puts the shields back up, and the ship doesn't notice them, and they move on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
To finalize this, and let's move on. Go ahead.
Throughout the entire thing, I think Clara is phenomenal.
Oh, the acting is top notch.
Well, and
Claire's
just
great.
The way the character was really good. Let's see. A big red lights could be good, could be bad. I'll take my chances. Oh, that was bad. I'm going to run away. Just so many good moments,
and
the fact
just showing off.
They stripped it all away just makes the episode. I've been kind of on the fence about Clara since Snowman because I really liked her in the Snowman. I really liked Oswin. I haven't really liked Clara up until this point. And she has that growth. She has those great moments. And then they're all gone again. Now I don't know if I like Clara anymore.
Does that go back to the fact that she's not necessarily needed again? That is it because of how she's being written, or is it because
she's off on her own for most of the episode?
Yeah,
which is where she really shines. And then when she shows up and starts beating up the Doctor, and she's somewhat needed, but somewhat not. I don't know. It's weird.
The engine room, by the way, gets full marks. The visual of that, just a big empty white nothing, and parts floating, and that to me is beyond the coolest of the cool. Because unlike a certain J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, the engine room didn't look like the inside of a factory. It didn't look like a big lump of alien engineering tech in the middle of the room with.
Well, it would have though.
But that's just it. Instead,
if it hadn't been exploded,
instead all we get is pieces, so we still don't know what it looks like. And that to me was just like, yes, score, because I loved that. I love the beach bit that
the cliff.
It's a fake cliff, and
it's a snarl.
Yeah.
See, there's so many good moments. There's so many good parts of this episode, and it's just.
It just doesn't meet the sum of its parts. Doesn't quite add up to.
It really doesn't.
So all of the moments were like, yay, and all of the others like. Maybe I'll like it better if I watch it again.
Yeah, I've watched it twice.
You're still not sold on it, huh?
I didn't watch it straight through. I kind of fast forwarded to make sure I caught a lot of the little dialogue bits that were really quick to make sure I fully understood what happened.
Did you catch 5 in the...
I didn't.
I'm going to say one more thing about this. I could have overlooked every last bit of this, and you guys are going to think this is weird coming from me. I could have overlooked every last bit, every negative part of this that we've brought up. I could have overlooked had it been the crew of Serenity that picked him up. Wouldn't that have been incredible?
That would have been.
Wouldn't that have been incredible?
Yes. OMG.
Needs that big red button.
That's so cool.
Well, it very much has a feel of our Mrs. Reynolds. Part of it. Like the idea of that she disabled the ship and it's going towards this. They're going to salvage the ship. They kind of took that idea and said, okay, let's try that for Doctor Who.
Ish.
No. See, it's sorry, Keith. You're connecting things I can't.
Just because both of them have salvage missions in them, and
people trying to salvage ships that don't need to be salvaged.
But Aliens had a salvage mission in it. It didn't feel anything like Aliens.
Yeah. Well, no, that was Cold War.
No, Aliens, the movie.
Oh.
Well,
she gets picked up.
Cold War felt like Alien and Aliens.
All right, let's move on to our third Doctor retrospective. Did you guys get a chance to see the Doctor Revisited?
Yes.
No. Seriously?
No, I'm kidding. I saw it.
What did you guys think of it?
Okay, I'm going to say it because I'm 90% sure you're thinking it. I was a little disappointed compared to 2.
Thank God.
I was all hyped to go into
They didn't
this.
even
It's like,
cover all of it.
Third Doctor, yay! Who's this Adam guy? I had to look him up. Do you know who that is?
It's the kid from the first series, or from the ninth series, from the first series of the new series, right?
Nope.
Who is it?
Are you ready for this? That one kid that they kept going back to, who's talking about stuff? He was the assistant to Harriet Jones Prime Minister in Christmas Invasion.
Oh, that wasn't Adam.
That wasn't Adam.
Oh, I thought that was Adam.
No, that
I thought he
Bruno.
just changed a little bit.
No, it wasn't Bruno. It was...
I do remember the one that he whispers...
Doesn't she look tired?
Doesn't she look tired, yeah.
That's who that guy was. It's
Got
like,
it.
that's who you got? Are you saying that Katie Manning wasn't available for this?
Yeah, that was weird. Here's the thing. I love the Third Doctor. I love the Third Doctor era. I love the fact that since we've gone back, since we've rediscovered Who, and we've been doing this podcast, we're rediscovering the Third Doctor and discovering pieces of the Third Doctor we've never seen before. That I'm thoroughly enjoying the Third Doctor. I love him. He ranks up there as one of my favorite Doctors now. So I am so sad that last week we had an audio that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
We had a comic book that I didn't enjoy. This week we had a retrospective that I think was underselling the Third Doctor.
Thank you. That is the word.
It
that is totally the word. It's
underselling
undersold
the Third
him.
Doctor.
And for the second one, I hate to keep comparing these things to the second one, but just
moments were reassuring.
yeah, his bits were good.
And David Tennant's stuff was pretty entertaining.
But even he, quite honestly, wasn't in it enough.
Not as connected.
And he wasn't as enthused about
the
it.
first and the third. Yeah, it wasn't as enthused as he was with the first and the second.
It's almost like he got, I don't know, maybe this is the third hour of recording with his stuff, and he's starting to get a little drawn and needed some coffee or something. But he just didn't seem as excited about talking about Pertwee as he did some of the others.
I hope they'd spend a whole hour on each Doctor.
I don't know. Well, you know how these things go. You record and you record and you record, and then you edit it down.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I started at 8.
But I would hope that they could do a half hour. They could get 3 Doctors in one half hour.
I started at 8 in the morning on my short film, went till 3, and only got about 2.5 minutes of footage. So by the time it's all edited down. No, it just... I feel so bad that the highs that we came off of with 2, and maybe with the Revisited, it was just the fact that so much of his time frame was lost.
There wasn't as much that they could talk about.
And so there was this real in-depth, exploring of his character and a real championing of, it's a shame that so much of his stuff's gone because he was this, and this. And then with Pertwee, we kind of got this, he was there. And it was like, he's so much better than that. What are you guys doing?
And what, they only covered...
And the Venusian Aikido, you picked the
4
clip
seasons
from Green Death, where it's so obviously not even him, and it's a guy in a wig.
Right.
And there's so many other better Venusian Aikido fights out there. It almost makes me worried for the Tom Baker one. We've got 7 years of stuff to cover. He was there for a while.
It's true.
You've probably seen it. Let's move on.
It's true.
I don't know. I really felt bad for this one. I
thought the look at unit was good. The fact that they got Yates to come in and talk that was nice.
Mm-hmm. That part was cool, and the tied in with that was the vehicles, where they talked about Pertwee in particular, his love for anything.
They hit all of the.
They hit a bunch of great points of.
Well, they hit was required.
The Third Doctor era.
I mean, they talked about the Master. They skipped over Sarah Jane completely, which, again, understandable because she's going to be the companion they talk about with 4. That's just, I get that. But we get a little bit of Liz,
but
which
that's
is what
part
we got.
Of why
we got a lot of Joe, and we get a little Sarah Jane. We got some of the Brig. I mean, it's. I don't know. I really think you needed Katie Manning on this thing because so much of that era is now gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have lost the Brig. We have lost Liz. We have lost.
Mean deaths, not.
Well,
videotape.
Yeah. The Brig has died. That
Sarah's gone.
Sarah's gone. That Liz is gone. That what's his name? The producer before Let's. Is he the one?
Holmes.
But Holmes is gone. I mean, there's just
Holmes gone.
I thought he was gone. Is he not gone? there's just so much of the third Doctor. Delgado's gone. Pertwee's gone. I mean, there's just so many people that you can't talk to anymore. And I love David Tennant coming in and talking about this stuff, but I'm sorry, Katie Manning's still around. You got to go talk to her. You got to go talk to her. You talked to Jamie. You went and got Ian.
Victoria was in.
Yeah, I mean, Victoria was in. Well, they even talked to Zoe for the second.
No, it was Zoe. It was Zoe.
Or Zoe, not,
It wasn't Victoria, it was Zoe.
But, I mean, no offense. You got Yates.
At least somebody from the era was able to be there to represent.
Yeah, that's almost what it felt like. I don't know.
And to me, it almost felt like they only focused on the first 2 seasons of his run.
Yeah,
like they didn't talk about the third Doctor or the 3 Doctors or him eventually getting back the power to fly the TARDIS. I mean, anybody sitting and watching that, they would think he was completely Earthbound until he regenerated.
Yeah. Yeah, they glazed
and
over
that's
a lot of that.
Stayed away from part of that because of Sarah. But
well, yeah, and I think that's why they shouldn't have.
Before.
They should have at least spent a couple of minutes in saying one of the reasons why Sarah Jane is so endearing is because so endearing to the Doctor is because she's been around for multiple regenerations, where other companions haven't been. I think that's part of Sarah Jane's staying power. She starts with 3 for at least 5 episodes, 5 stories
for a whole season.
5? Oh, that was 4. Yeah, it was 5.
That's 5.
Yeah,
4 or 5, and then continues with Tom, and it feels like there's more. She got to know 2 different sides of his personality.
Time Warrior. Oh, you're going to bug me now. I got to do the list. Time Warrior, Invasion of the Dinosaurs,
Death of the Daleks, Monster of Peladon, Planet of the Spiders.
So 5. Yeah, it's a full season, but
I don't know. I just think they should have touched on her. Some, at least.
I don't know. Of all the things they didn't talk about, that's the one that I can kind of forgive the easiest.
Yeah,
but
it
just seems strange to me that because I watched it and I was really worried after we watched the first one that it was going to be one of those documentaries that, as a fan, I'm going to watch this and I'm going to know everything they talked about. And it wasn't. There were things that I learned watching that first one. There were things that I learned on the second one and had a great time with the exception of the car fascination that Pertwee had, that he loved moving vehicles and drove everything. That, I mean, it's got wheels. Yeah, I'm driving that. That's the only real piece of this that I kind of gleed onto and went, oh, that's so cool.
That's funny that you say that because I've watched all of these with a checklist of saying they've got to hit on this, they've got to hit on this, they've got to hit on this, and that's been my enjoyment of the first and second Doctors. Is I don't think there were any surprises for me because I've still got that mentality of Who fans aren't getting anything out of this. This is
it's all for new.
It's really all for new viewers, but I'm enjoying them from the standpoint of you've got to hit on this. Yeah, you did. Okay, you got to hit. So it's almost like I'm watching them from a perspective of if I did this and was trying to explain it to somebody. This is the first time that I came to one and went, you hit on really kind of the important things that I expected you to hit, but you didn't drive it home. It was
that's it.
Underselling.
Yeah.
It really was.
It really
they
is.
Undersold the Third Doctor. And you're right. What they did miss was the fact that he wasn't Earthbound the entire time.
It's almost only half. It's only half of his run that he's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's a little more.
He gets it working, and then doesn't again, and then he.
That's just it. I mean, if you go all the way up to 3 Doctors, it's a little over half. But there are a couple of adventures before that where he's specifically sent on a mission by the Time Lords, where he kind of sort of gets the TARDIS to work.
Right.
So
they give him back some ability to utilize the TARDIS.
And it seemed to me like they didn't touch on a lot of. They touched on some, but not a whole lot of the mythology building in 3's era, because a lot of what we have now is because of the time in the John Pertwee's run,
right?
Like the first time Gallifrey is mentioned. Oh wait, that's not until Time Monster, which they don't touch at all, or Time Warrior, which they don't touch at all. I mean,
the word Gallifrey.
Yeah, the word Gallifrey.
Time Lords
it's there.
We go to Gallifrey.
Yeah, the problem is it's there and it's discussed, but the way it was presented, it's all part of Moffat's. Everything in the show changes. I mean, not only is he Earthbound, but now he's this, and now he's this, and we learned his own planet, and blah, blah, blah. So he kind of couched that in this whole overarching, everything about the show changed when Pertwee came along. Oh, it was in color. You know, it's just kind of like, but you're missing out on what about the... and there's the okay, you know, yeah,
Yeah. See.
I mean, let's talk about what should have happened.
let's give our impressions.
Let's give our impressions because.
And don't get me wrong, I understand they're doing these for new viewers. If I was a new viewer coming to this and had this reaction of, man, I'd feel like I was inclined to skip over the Third Doctor's era. And I don't want new fans to have that impression.
Let's put it into perspective. I mean, we gush over the Third Doctor, we gush over all those points, but I mean, if you're introducing somebody, especially with using, was it Spearhead?
Yeah.
If you're introducing somebody, they really did hit on much of the important things. Again, they just undersold it. So to set them up for this story, that was probably adequate. I don't think they did a disservice to a new fan.
But I think they could have just jumped into Spearhead. And
there wasn't one clip
Especially
of him in the
since it's
wheelchair.
his first episode.
Yeah.
There wasn't one clip of him escaping in that wheelchair. But you did get to watch it afterwards.
This is one of those eras that I'm having a hard time pinning down which episode.
I noticed you still haven't voted. I knew you were going to vote for all of them anyway, so I guess I'd vote for none of them. It's
Crystal
just as
did.
important.
I did vote.
Crystal voted
You
for
didn't
all
vote.
of them.
I did vote.
But Crystal voted for all of them too. So
I did vote.
did you? I never saw you vote.
No, you never voted.
Oh,
never
it didn't
voted.
register.
Oh,
Why?
yeah, sure.
No,
Oh
seriously.
well, there's a tie. You better hurry up and get your vote in before we
I
talk
did
about
vote.
it. So
I did vote.
it might change the outcome of this.
I voted from my phone. That's the first time I've done that.
Stupid iPhone. Siri looked at your vote and went, "What, are you nuts?
Is this here?
You're voting for Peloton?"
There it is. It sure didn't register my vote.
Told you.
Huh. All right. Because this was the first time I voted for one, and apparently it didn't. Do I have to click something after? No, I just ticked the box. That's what I did. That's bizarre. Okay.
Did he vote?
Well, I voted, but it's not there. Well, there's a +1. Is that me?
Which one did you vote for?
Hit refresh.
That's just that I can't remember. It was between two, and I can't remember which one I ended up.
You didn't vote for that one.
Planet of Daleks is the one I voted for. Who's the one plus person that maybe
You
didn't
voted
register?
as Traveling the Vortex.
That's why. I knew I voted. All right, that's why. I voted for Planet. But ultimately, it came down to the fact that it's because it's one of my favorite stories. So it really isn't my choice. But I felt like since I couldn't vote for all of them, I could just throw one down there. Yeah, you're right. I voted as Vortex.
All right, Keith, what did you vote for?
My initial vote was Time Warrior, but that was coming off of just watching it and how much fun
Did
it
you
is to
change?
watch. Are
you thinking
I
about
added
changing?
2 votes. Because I don't think...
Because I saw you vote for Time Warner, and I went, "You're just doing that because we just watched that one."
Yeah. I think my overall pick would be Terror of the Autons.
I think I go with the
my
consensus.
favorite is still Carnival of Monsters.
Yeah.
I think I go with the consensus because my favorite is still Planet of the Daleks, but I think Terror is probably the best example of a good, definitive.
See,
Third
and I
Doctor.
still feel like there's this... While there is some bleed over, there's a line in the era where, okay, there's the unit Third Doctor, then there's the space Third Doctor. And it's so hard to choose one specific story to represent all of his era.
No.
No?
No.
No?
I-
You don't agree?
And this is the weird thing for me is this really summed up the whole voting for the iconic representation of the era and not for your favorite. And I went with Sea Devils. And because
You just like rubbing that in. You actually got to watch it.
well, yeah, that's true too. But for me, if we're gonna sum up the Third Doctor's era, we're gonna talk about being Earthbound. We have to talk about Unit. We have to talk about Joe Grant, and we have to talk about the Master. Those are kind of the check marks in my mind that you
Terror
would.
does that.
Terror
you
does
do
that
that.
also.
But I think Sea Devils does it better.
It does have a sword fight in it.
It
Unit's
does have a
not
sword
there.
fight, which is that's a huge
The
plus.
missing
thing
point
is
there though
Unit's-
is Unit. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's not as present.
Yeah, no, they have that huge. That's where the hovercraft and all that comes in at the end.
That's the Royal Navy. That's not unit at all.
Well, it's not unit, is it? Oh, never mind. I got to change my vote. Then.
Yeah, I mean, that if that were true and unit was part of that,
I totally
would
thought that was
completely
unit.
agree
You're
with
right.
you.
Never mind.
But that's the Royal Navy.
Okay, then
Yeah.
I guess I. Is Terry the one they showed for?
No, they showed Spearhead.
They showed Spearhead.
Spearhead's what they showed.
Because we were thinking they should have
They
shown.
should have
Terry.
shown.
They
Terry.
okay,
and because it's the same length.
All right, stand
Yeah,
by.
I
I'll
thought the
change
same
my
thing.
vote.
Is I went through the list and I thought it kind of needs all of those aspects, but Sea Devils unfortunately is missing unit.
Although there's a couple that I wish I have seen, because part of the Third Doctor's era is the length of some of the stories. Like we have Silurians, Ambassadors of Death.
Maybe that's why I went with Sea Devils, because it's a longer one.
Sea Devil's only 6. Well, I guess
6 for
6.
Sea Devils.
It's a long one.
6. Yeah,
It's only 6.
Frontier in Space, Planet of the Daleks.
6
4.
or 4. Okay,
It's 4.
So it's part of being able to really delve yourself into the Third Doctor's era is accepting the longer runs.
yeah, that's true.
That could also be because you guys, that's who you first introduced me to. And so
Yeah.
I associate, because it was with the Silurians, I associate length with the Third Doctor.
I do too, really.
Even though there are still long ones previously, like with 1 and 2.
But we didn't see a lot of 2 before. Yeah, you're right.
But you'll also.
No, Silurians is my very first.
No, but what I'm saying, yes, I'm sorry. I was expounding on that is even when we were showing you early in your run, we weren't showing you a lot of the longer second and first Doctor.
It wasn't
ones.
until we got to the Daleks.
Right.
Until we
and it
got
was
to the Daleks.
We
10 parts.
did hit a lot of the Pertwee long ones early on in your run.
But there are still a ton to go. If you look at what we haven't reviewed yet, if you look at the Daemons, if you look at Inferno, if you look
Damon's
at
a 6?
I think it's a 6. If you look at the Green Death, if you look at
Green Death
Planet of the
is
Spiders, if you look, I mean, there's still a huge chunk of really long stories
Inferno is 7.
out there that we haven't done yet.
Inferno, yeah.
Damon's is 5.
I didn't think Damon's was 6.
The Mutants.
I thought it,
we haven't done that
So
one.
we haven't
right?
done the Mutants.
That's 6. Green Death is 6.
I knew that.
Planet of the Spiders is 6.
Are you sure?
Green
Yeah.
Death is 6. Planet of the Spiders is 6.
I didn't remember that being that long either.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I agree with you. Length is definitely, because they really kind of. I mean, there's a lot of long ones
But
out
of the
there.
of the
Maybe
two
they're,
that you or the 2 of the ones that you mentioned that I couldn't remember being that long, I think are because they don't feel that long. That's the other thing. That's
the thing is
there are Third Doctor stories that feel like they need to be shorter, and there's some that obviously pace out to be 6 episodes, and I don't think they're all too long. So.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the Third Doctor is, while some of the previous ones felt long, not as many of the Third Doctor felt as long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's paced so well, and there's the good action in it too.
You suppose that they were afraid to pull the trigger on Terror because they wanted to set up the
Autons?
the Autons a little bit better than, because Terror kind of really does go into it assuming you've seen
Well,
Spearhead.
yeah.
I mean it's a true
Yeah.
sequel, and we're not going to give you a lot of backstory here. We're just going to jump right into it and
But-
expect you to know who the Autons are or what the Autons
To
are.
the same
And the
extent,
Nestine consciousness.
they could have chose Terror of the Autons thinking people have seen Rose and know what Autons are and know what the Nestine consciousness is.
That's a valid point.
There's a valid
If
point.
they're targeting this to new fans, you would assume that they would see that.
Maybe this sounds really bad. The one thing that I can take out of Terror of the Autons is that maybe as a network executive, as to why I would be a little gun shy, quite honestly, is the treatment of Jo. That she is such an airhead in that first episode.
No, that's a good point.
But I mean, and it's the Doctor basically. I mean, he dresses her down. He treats her very badly, and that the only person that's supposed to be in here is the coffee lady. And interestingly enough,
But they touch on that.
They
in-
do.
that clip
They
was
do
in the
touch-
revisited.
They do
but-
touch on that and point that out, and so that almost would be forgiving enough to do Terror, because they explain that away. Hey, this is a point where the Doctor treated her this way, but their relationship grows and it becomes better. So I don't know. Even by the end of Terror, though, he's more willing to accept.
Oh yeah, he's much more willing to accept her.
I don't agree with that. I don't think.
I'm just saying that I could see, because she does not. Joe does not have a lot of sterling moments in that story. Because she comes in and she's in Airhead and she's dressed down by the Doctor, and he has this very antagonistic relationship with her because she's not the brightest tube in the vacuum box. And then she gets hypnotized by the Master and attempts to kill everybody at Unit Headquarters. So there's a lot of not a good first day at work, But I just you're right, because the Third Doctor, once he gets off planet, and this is the weird thing for me. Because you should be almost cheering for him. All right, we've got the TARDIS back. We're going to go have some adventures. We're going to go do some fun stuff now. Whenever we watch a Third Doctor story that isn't Earthbound, it feels weird to me. I don't understand why.
I can understand that.
But it's like, oh, he's flying in this one. Okay. There's like a gear shift moment in my head. It's like, okay, let's reverse and go back. But
I'll give them credit for one thing, for doing Spearhead in space. Liz is predominantly overlooked in a lot of, I think, fandom.
Yeah,
so the fact that she gets a spotlight by showing Spearhead is good, because I've always enjoyed Liz.
I have too.
Granted, I've only seen the 3 stories.
Well, she's only in 4.
I know.
I never.
And Inferno is on the schedule because they're releasing a special edition later this year.
That's true.
I'm on the flip side of that because
You've never been a big fan of Liz?
Not really.
I always liked Liz. I didn't like her admittedly, in the Third Doctor's companion list, she would come in 3rd out of 3.
I don't hate her. She was a fine companion.
She would, realistically, if I was given the option to throw the brig on that list, she would come in 4 out of 4. But
she lands way at the bottom of the list for me.
But she would also come in below Benton if that was the case. But not that I don't enjoy her. I just enjoy everybody else that much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so much in the Third Doctor's era that's important. Like you said, Keith, with the kind of reinvention of the show and everything. I mean, that we do get the Master, we get a villain, and it's not
a recurring villain,
and it's not a robot, it's not the Dalek, it's not a Cyberman, it's
somebody of his own species.
Yeah,
which just makes things even more interesting. And an old mate from boarding school or whatever they said in Terror.
Yeah.
It's just depth. Gives so much depth.
It really puts a whole new spin on that.
That's another plus for Terror, is the fact that it's 2.
Well, and if they assume they've seen all of New Who.
Yeah. I mean, it would have given you a taste of the Master and the Nasty.
And if they assume they've...
But no sword fight.
No
sword fight.
But there wasn't one in...
There's not one in Spearhead either.
Scary plastic couch. And whatever that devil doll was.
Yeah, that was in there.
That's why they didn't show it.
That was the devil doll.
Yeah, the devil doll.
That's why they didn't show it. They were like, we're not showing that doll.
That's too scary for television.
Wait, that's too scary for television. And then they got to the couch and we're like, no, we can't show the couch eating somebody. No, the sword fight's in Sea Devils. But again, that to me is the...
Surely there was some Venetian Aikido in Aikido in
It's been long enough since we've watched it. I don't remember, honestly, if he
whips out
the Aikido.
Was there some in Spearhead, maybe, too?
There was a sword fight in Sea Devils.
Yeah. Get off the Sea Devils.
I liked it.
Yeah, well, if you'd have finished the first time, I'd have had more respect for you.
There was a sword fight!
Is there anything else you guys want to add about this? I kind of need to wrap this show up because we got a little special treat for the listeners.
Oh, we do.
We do.
Finally.
This isn't the one I was alluding to at the beginning of the show, but this is another special treat for our listeners.
Second special treat.
So the Third Doctor's era, we get officially we get Gallifrey. We tweeted that out on Friday night.
Yeah.
That the first time Gallifrey's ever mentioned is Time Warner.
They named
the planet. I mean, yes, we'd been there, but it was just, I'm home instead of that. So we get Gallifrey. This is also the era that the Two Hearts comes into play. It had never been mentioned before Pertwee's era that the Doctor has 2 hearts, and so that was a big deal. Obviously, the unit backstory and everything that come along with being stranded on Earth is all here. And really the fundamental change in character from the grumpy old man that we started with, and then kind of the
James Bond suave.
Going from that even through Troughton.
The Cosmic Clown.
Into this James Bond, into this man of action. This is where he's, he's not going to be afraid to mix it up and do a little bit. And that's we see tiny hints of that. We've joked about Hartnell as the man of action when he leaves the picture, but not
ultimately not. You still
to this
see an
extent.
old man. You still see an old man. And this one, Pertwee was no spring chicken, but
he may have had gray hair, but he was no old man.
He was not.
You just don't see an old man. He acts like a very young, spry guy, and he is the man of action. And it's a much different man of action than what we allude to in the first Doctor's era,
or really any. I think there aren't many other doctors that karate chop people and flip them over his shoulder.
No, we had gun-toting Peter Davis.
Well, that's the thing. Later, they start picking up guns. Not as much.
David Tennant.
Not as much.
Ten was a little more hands-on.
Yeah. Is there a doctor you would like to see pick out the Venusian Aikido and really just go to town in the middle of a fight sequence and go, man, I haven't used that in forever? Not just a drop line.
I'll tell you, when the
but
Eighth
like
Doctor
an honest to goodness fight sequence.
When the Eighth Doctor uses it in the Eight Doctors against the thugs that are the drug pushers, that's fantastic. And then when he goes, I must know. This must be something I know. Because he's using it without even forethought of it. So that's a wonderful piece.
I just of all of the guys that have come since, which one is it that you'd really like to see? I
could almost see Colin doing it. I could see
Colin. Because
Colin.
he's such the brash. Yeah, I could see.
He's the only other one that I could see doing that.
He'd have a great height, too.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I could see the Eighth Doctor doing that.
I could see Paul doing it.
He comes across as such a pacifist, but it seems like in he's one of those out of necessity type doctors that he would do it. Again, I read about him doing it in Eighth Doctor, so maybe that's why it's easier for me to imagine.
I would love to see Matt Smith attempt it.
He could only try.
That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. I've seemed to have forgotten this or something.
I remember that working a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's such a. Reverse the polarity never came up in that thing either.
That's true.
Yeah. That's true.
Of course,
how could you?
Of course,
he
we have
said
discussed
it twice, right?
As a full phrase.
Yeah.
Reverse the polarity.
There's been
neutron flows
variations
twice, but variations of reverse the polarity have been thrown out there. I don't know. There's so much good stuff in the Third Doctor's era to really celebrate this rebirth of Who, and I keep going back to the special that they missed out on.
Going back to the special because we're just dogging the special now. We've already made our peace with the special.
There's more out there, so
go and watch it.
That's
the best thing you can do. Just go watch it.
It's interesting to look at our list here too. If we're going to evaluate some of this, I think the things that floated to the top are really some of the best episodes. The one that I think, and anything below Planet lands down there based on the fact that either nobody voted for it or just Crystal voted for it, but. Three Doctors only lands at the very bottom because of the fact that I think beyond that it's in alphabetical order, right? No, it's not. It's just the way that you'd put it on the chart. Then I suppose everything else moves up when it gets votes.
They should have been initially, as the list was created, in chronological order.
Okay,
so then as votes they would move up. Now this is the interesting thing with this list. If you're looking at this list on Facebook, as far as what people voted for, the top vote getter now is Terror the Auton, since I changed, followed by Spearhead from Space. Followed by the Time Warrior, then the Sea Devils, Carnivals, Monsters, Ambassadors of Death. Everything else is and Planet of the Dogs. Everything else got one vote. But if you're looking at that list of titles, some of my personal favorite episodes of Pertwee's era are at the bottom. I love Day of the Daleks, even though I know it's got problems.
See,
Three Doctors is probably
that's the point
my
that I was
favorite.
going to go to. Is I think the cream of the crop really did float to the top. I do think that Terror of the Autons, Spirits from Space, Time Warrior, Ambassadors, maybe not so much so, Carnival of Monsters, Sea Devils, Planet of the Dogs. I think those. Well, I'm partial to Planet, but I think those came to the top because those really do represent the best of. But I'm with you. Three Doctors was one of my favorite. Day of the Daleks is one of my favorite, and Doctor Who and the Silurians. I think those are all fantastic episodes. Beyond that, I mean, the other ones are kind of there.
Well, and Frontier in Space is one of those that the more I think about it, the more I think that I, in particular, and I think probably both Keith and I may have just been a little too harsh in our expectations of where's the follow-up piece to this, and that we're not looking at it as that,
Frontier in Space is great.
Yeah.
It's just what comes after is not so much.
Well, I think that's...
They're two good episodes. They just don't connect.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's the problem. I think I need to go back and rewatch Frontier by itself, just separately, and kind of take it in for what it is, and then go back and watch Planet many later, and not try to butt them up against each other like it's a continuing story, and see maybe if that doesn't do it. Because the more I think about the Draconians, the more I liked what I saw, and I think my perceptions were just really overcolored by that. But so there's so many of these episodes, and again, this doesn't take into account ones we haven't reviewed yet, which I think is possibly
Inferno
interesting too.
and the Daemons. I can Inferno, I've never seen all the way through, but the Daemons I have, and it's.
And Colton commented on that. He said
if
Keith had seen the Daemons, that would have been the one he voted for as the best too.
Yeah, it was
so
one of his comments down here. There are still more out there that would certainly paint.
But that's the good news, is that there's more to come.
Yeah.
And I can
Unlike
guarantee
the second Doctor, we've run out of it.
I can guarantee that they're on the schedule based on the DVD releases later this year, that we will get to Inferno, and we'll be doing that over 2 parts for Friday Night Who, and The Green Death, because they're doing a special edition release of that, and so we'll have that one on the schedule as well. So you'll get, for sure, both of those.
I'm not very excited about The Green Death. I know a lot of people rank that high as a
That's the one with the bugs, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's another Brenda episode.
Maggots. There are elements of the Green Death that I like. There are moments in the Green Death I like. Overall, as a story, it wouldn't rank very high for me, but it's okay. And we say goodbye to Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean yeah? You say
I
that
know-
like
I
you say
know.
that like you know she
Spoiled
leaves.
I know that. I've seen Time Warrior.
She doesn't leave.
All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to hit on with the third Doctor's? It's much better than the special put him out to be.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that our unscientific poll is
Oh, it's a totally scientific poll.
our unscientific poll on the website is a good indicator of the best of Pertwee here as well. So, and a lot of people obviously agree. So,
In many ways, I think so. Although, again, don't think that the Three Doctors not being up there isn't by choice, because, wow, is that a good one?
well, and where that falls in this list is, you can't say this so much for some of the other ones like Day or Death, but the Three Doctors, where that falls is you wouldn't use that.
It's
Even though it's Three Doctors.
It's just like the
and
Five
it's the
Doctors. You don't
perfect
use
way
that
to
as an
go-
introduction.
Yeah, it's the perfect way to go here. Well, there's a 3-for-1. You wouldn't do that to a new viewer because you want to get more of an overarching taste.
Yeah.
And Patrick Troughton steals the show in that so much that a lot of that is pulled away from Pertwee's character. And so you don't want to introduce somebody to the Three Doctors, because then you've kind of splintered off of what you're trying to do and introduce the best qualities of the third Doctor.
Although it is their... Because it helps to have that kind of base knowledge of Pertwee and that base knowledge of Troughton, to then put them together and see how Troughton snipes at him through the whole thing. And those are the best parts of the Three Doctors. Those are the best parts of the Five Doctors, is at the end when they finally kind of meet up, and it's just like, oh, it's you again.
It is.
So,
And Omega. I love Omega.
and speaking of
Omega. Well, I'm going to tack this on to the end after we've signed off. So because Keith wasn't there. So,
I haven't heard it.
but Shaun and I were privileged to speak with Mr. Stephen Thorne at Gallifrey this year, and we got to sit down and do a one-on-one interview with him. And we're going to have that interview following this show, so it'll be right on the end of the heels of this show. So stick around after we've signed off. And listen, hear that
you
interview.
saw the pictures.
You saw
Now
the
you
pictures,
get the audio.
Now you get the audio.
Oh my god, oh my god.
Oh, and he was so awesome.
It was awesome. It was incredible. That said, let's finish this up by doing some housekeeping. What's up next on the schedule?
Next on the schedule, we've got Enlightenment on Friday Night Who this week with Peter Davidson, which is, yes, again, one that we've already reviewed, but that's the reason that we're doing these, is because of New Who currently being on, and so we wanted to give everybody a little bit of a break. And then next week on the program, we will be discussing IDW's comic book Prisoners of Time 4, which I don't know if there's a subtitle on those or not. Mm-hmm. I don't have it here in my...
there hasn't been.
But this will, because May starts our celebration of the Fourth Doctor. So we've wrapped up with Pertwee now. We're moving on into Tom Baker. So we'll start that with IDW and the comic book, and then we'll be reviewing the New Who episode, The Crimson Horror. Now, you guys all saw the sneak peek trailer the next time on her, okay?
Yeah.
Is this the vampire sucker lady from Smith & Jones?
No.
It sure looks like her.
No.
Maybe it's the same actress, but
No, that's
not even the same actress.
That's what's her name?
It's Diana Rigg.
Diana Rigg.
the old lady?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
That's Diana Rigg.
That's Diana Rigg.
Because Mel thought the
Avengers.
same thing. Mel thought it looked like the vampire sucking lady with the straw.
What was her name on the Avengers?
Mrs. Peel.
Peel, yeah. That's Mrs. Peel.
Didn't look like Mrs. Peel.
She's considerably older now.
Don't
Diana Rigg.
Don't
We
shatter
didn't
my
get a
illusions,
shot of her
Glenn.
daughter, though, did we? In the trailer? I don't know what her daughter looks like, though. So
Yes, we did.
I'll be honest. Quite honestly, when they said that they had Diana Rigg, when they said that they had her, I assumed she was playing a good guy. The old lady in this trailer looks like a villain, but that's just me. Maybe because I think it's the vampire lady. But
no, she definitely looks like a villain.
she definitely looks like a villain. So maybe that's what really threw me, is I just wasn't expecting that. So we'll be doing Crimson Horror and the comic book next week.
For the record, Anne Reed played the old
she the
vampire lady from Smith and Jones.
So you've interviewed her. Tell me what else she's in.
He had to get an IMDb in before the show was over.
Oh, she's the gun-toting granny in that one, too, isn't she?
Yep.
So what else are we doing next week?
That's it.
All right.
Comic book and Crimson Horror. The following week is some fun stuff. There's one that we haven't reviewed yet. Some fun stuff. Not that Enlightenment's not fun. But we'll be doing Revenge of the Cybermen, which we have not reviewed. So that's our Friday Night Who for May 10th. And then our show that week will be reviewing Revenge of the Cybermen and Nightmare in Silver. So you get a Cybermen archive, because that's the Neil Gaiman Cybermen episode for the new series. And it's still a Tom Baker, so it still fits in with our Fourth Doctor month-long celebrations.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's going to do it this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Shaun.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everyone.
Be seeing you.
Omega! And hello, this is Shaun. I'm here with Glenn, and we have a very special guest, Mr. Stephen Thorne.
Hi, hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well, having a great time.
And of course, you are known all over the world to Doctor Who fans as, well, many roles. I do the list. We've got
Azal and Omega, Eldrad, and the first Ogron.
I'd forgotten about the first Ogron. You're right.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that. Did you have a favorite?
I think Omega has to be the favourite, A, because it was the most comfortable costume to wear of all those, and the best part. After all, he was a Time Lord. He was the original. He, the trailblazer, and he was a good part and justifiably angry man.
Oh, definitely.
What had happened to him? I mean, wouldn't you behave? No, it was a great part, and I loved it, and also got to work with those two lovely doctors.
Just from watching the three Doctors from a fan perspective, you can feel something special was kind of happening for the 10th anniversary. The fact that we did bring the other Doctors back into this adventure, but it's just a well-written story to begin with. Did you kind of get the sense on set that this was just, it looks like it was a lot of fun to make?
It was fun to make, and it was, everybody realised that it was the anniversary one, and therefore it was special, and it was sort of an honour to be in it, in a way. And I mean, nobody realised that in 30 odd years later, we'd be here doing this. And Nick Courtney once said to me, apropos of that thing, that he said, if we'd known what a great cult was going to be, we'd have done it better. But it was great. I mean, those two were great together. I mean, there were sort of little sparks of moments, and Pertwee was a great stickler for being, exact. And because of the mask, it was difficult for me to see my marks sometimes, and I was out of place. And I'd feel his hand on my shoulder gently pushing me into the right place, and Troughton would say, "What are you doing to him?" And he'd say, "Well, I can't see the camera. Stephen's in the way. I cannot see the camera." And Troughton would say, "Well, what are you worrying about? It's not you they want to see, it's the monster."
That's great. Did you had a couple of scenes with Nicholas Courtney as well, with the Brigadier.
Yeah.
What was it like to work with him?
It was terrific. I knew him already.
Oh, did you?
Yes, we worked in radio quite a lot.
I didn't know
together.
that.
Yes, and he became a great friend of mine. And yes, we used to meet quite often and go out and drink together and have a lot of fun. No, he was a great guy and a friend. And in a way, I had recommended him to a producer friend of mine at the BBC, and he joined the BBC drama rep that I was on for a time, and we were on that together. And then we met in Doctor Who, and it was great.
That's amazing. I've yet to meet somebody who worked with Nicholas Courtney who just overwhelmed with, he was such a friend. Everybody has said that. Everybody has said that he was just, I've yet to meet somebody who hasn't said that. That's amazing.
He was a lovely man. He was. A naughty man, but a lovely man.
I've heard that too. Now, in your panel, when you were on being interviewed over at Radio Free Skaro up here for Galley, they asked you a little bit about The Hand of Fear and kind of the differences. And you mentioned that you didn't get to interact at all with the actress who also played Eldred.
No, I didn't. I never met her in the rehearsal or anything during that until Lenny Mayne took us out for dinner on the last night when we finished.
Just out of curiosity, had you met her ahead of time, or had you been able to see some of the stuff that was done, would you have tailored your performance as Eldred any differently than the way you played it to of match up? Or
yes, no, I would have suggested, the thing I would have suggested was that there was something, some mannerism, some quirk of voice or something that we both did that linked the two of us together, some sort of homage to each other, if you see what I mean. But we didn't, and we couldn't, so that didn't happen. But it would have been nice to be able to do that. And you could say then, I see why he's doing that, because she did that, or vice versa.
Now, you have a rather dubious place of honor in the history of the Doctor Who canon. To my knowledge, I believe you're the only villain to be taken out by the scarf.
Oh, yes, yes, that's right.
So that's a claim to fame, I guess, for you.
And of course, a great advantage of being these villains is that I got to come back, again and again, because nobody knew what was underneath all that, which is a great advantage. I mean, had I been playing a normal sort of character, you'd have done it and they'd said, right, that's it. You can't come back because people know you as so-and-so or whatever. But no, it's just the luck of the draw, really, I suppose.
You haven't watched much of the new series, have you? Everybody comes back now. They die, they come back next week. It's not a big deal.
I have watched it. I like it, but I have to ask a sort of younger member of the family for the sort of finer points of the plotting and everything. Sometimes I don't quite understand.
So we're going into the 50th anniversary. This is the big year. I mean, this is really huge. Are there any whispers on the agent front from people that you're in association with that maybe you're going to be asked back in some way? We've heard through the grapevine that Omega may be the villain to come back for the 50th anniversary in some sort of multi-Doctor story.
I haven't heard anything.
You haven't heard anything?
Honestly, no.
If you had, you wouldn't be able to tell me anyway, would you?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. But you'd see me grinning from ear to ear.
Would you like to come back if they asked? If Moffat called you tomorrow?
Oh, wow, yes. Certainly, yes. I am available.
We'll have our people call his people. We'll set it up for you. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I guess we didn't touch on the demons. You want to ask a question about that, Glenn? Or
you talked in a little bit in also the Radio Free Skaro panel about working on the green screen. You were separated for quite some time. Talk a little bit about that, not actually being there with the actors, but still having to interact with the actors.
It was very strange. They were on the other side of the studio, so I couldn't see them at all, and they couldn't see me. But they could see me because they had a screen with me on it, but I didn't see them or the screen. It's weird in a way, but I mean, there were problems with eye lines and things, and I had to have marks put on the piece of canvas to, look here and there and whatever. Not that you could see my eyes at all through that extraordinary mask,
Right.
but it was quite a novel experience that I'd never had before, never done that before. And it was sort of cutting-edge technology in those days.
Yeah. And then, of course, of all your costumes, which was the one you enjoyed? Like, you said Omega was probably the best, but as far as the costumes go, which was your favorite of
Well,
those?
again, Omega was the best because it was the most comfortable. And that mask was very light and easy to wear. The worst was the Azar thing with the teeth and the hooves and the claws and the wigs and itchy, scratchy. But great fun. Great fun.
Terrific.
I mean, what a part.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, rarely do you get to go that far.
Right.
Yes.
That actually impresses me even the more, that the helmet is light, because watching that, you place... Omega is a man that has the weight of a world on his shoulders, quite literally, that he created all this. And when you do the reveal, there's so much gravatas in that scene that you put into that. I assumed just part of that was this thing must have weighed 50 pounds and you're pulling it off your head.
Partly because I couldn't see. I just had little pinpricks to look through. So it was dark in there, and I did feel sort of, at one remove, and therefore cut off and cross an angle that you couldn't see. You see what I mean? Yeah. No, but it was great. It was a wonderful part.
Stephen, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us. This has been an absolute joy. I know our listeners will appreciate and listen to this, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and report that, yes, he's coming back for the 50, because I know we'd be just beside ourselves with pleasure on that.
And so would I. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And we'd love to be able to call on you again sometime if we may.
Please do.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.